In a classroom, the teacher was continuously giving a very serious lecture saying, "Look at me, students, look at me. If you don't look at me, how will you know what the monster looks like?" At that moment, Monsieur suddenly woke up from a daze, his eyes bewildered as he looked around, thinking, "Am I not dead? Am I really going to take the university entrance exam? I'm not dead." Moreover, he was reincarnated back to the time of the university entrance exam, so that means I still have to take the exam. Then it's better to just die than to live again. Even though I just died and came back to life, Monsieur's mind was misplaced. He just stood there blankly thinking about the university exam. At that moment, the teacher, full of fierce energy, shouted loudly, "Monsieur, even if you sleep during class, don't disturb other students." Seeing the teacher, Monsieur was stunned with his mouth agape. "Isn't the teacher dead?" "No, the teacher is still alive." The atmosphere immediately fell into silence. The students froze stiff. Only Monsieur's best friend silently liked the moment. Worthy of being the #1 werewolf of Class 6. I will definitely hold a grand funeral for you. At this moment, the teacher was so angry he was steaming but tried not to hit. "Move your leg, Monsieur, explain yourself." Feeling the teacher's fierce aura, Monsieur immediately snapped to attention and bowed 90 degrees. "Teacher, just now I had a nightmare. I think I dreamed of strange creatures swarming in, attacking Longtan, our 100-year-old hometown, collapsing in an instant. I was so shocked I woke up. Also, teacher, in my dream you were a martyr, someone everyone respected." Really? Hearing such absurd words, teacher's eyes blazed brightly. Unable to contain himself, he crushed the monster's skull in his hand and said, "So in your dream Longtan was destroyed and I died?" Monsieur carefully thought and replied, "Teacher, you died without pain, very peacefully." In his mind appeared a vivid image of the teacher's horrific death. Clearly torn apart in an instant, probably didn't hurt at all. Hearing this answer, teacher gritted his teeth, creaking, crushing the monster's skull with one hand. "Longtan destroyed." Ridiculous. Standing against the wall. "Let me raise my head, puff out my chest, and stick out my butt." Monsieur still kept bowing, but raised his head to ask, "Teacher, how can you stick out your butt when you're standing against the wall?" Seeing the teacher's fierce gaze, Monsieur quickly shut up. He knew if he said one more word, the punishment wouldn't be this simple. Then the teacher stepped toward him, sternly asking, "Monsieur, speak loudly. Tell me 55 years ago when Longtan traveled through time to another world with the epidemic spreading and zombies rampant, was Longtan destroyed then? After the zombie pandemic smoke covered the sky monsters attacked, we lost 1/3 of the population, countless martyrs and brave fighters struggled sneaking through the monsters' teeth to find a way to survive. Tell me, did they surrender? Was Longtan destroyed?" Teacher leaned close to Monsieur's face and shouted loudly. Monsieur immediately stood at attention and clearly answered, "Report, teacher, we did not surrender. Longtan was not destroyed." At this moment, teacher turned his gaze to the other students and loudly encouraged them to listen carefully. "As long as the clouds disperse, our torrent of weapons will be as mighty as a storm, bringing the civilization of Earth to shine across the sky of the other world, a Longtan like that. How could it be destroyed by those tiny creatures from the other world? In this world, only we Earth people are the most ruthless." Hearing these words, the flame of passion seemed to blaze. "Yes, we Earth people are the most ruthless. Sooner or later, we will level the other world." Among them, some students stood up and declared fiercely, "Teacher, that's well said. We should strive to cultivate fight to become strong, contribute our strength for Longtan. How could we fear the enemy like fearing a tiger always thinking about Longtan's destruction?" I believe except for a few cowards, most students agreed with each other. Longtan will definitely win, Earth will definitely win. The crowd of students all agreed with this opinion. They continuously shouted loudly. Moreover, some made heart shapes with their hands while aiming at Monsieur, attacking him. "Monsieur, how can you be so depraved? Always sleeping in class but still ranking first from the bottom up. You can't blame him. Cultivation went wrong, so he got seriously injured. In return, wouldn't you be the same?" Hearing this, Monsieur frowned, annoyed. "Looking for trouble. Do I have a grudge against you?" "Oh, maybe I do. In the previous life, I missed the university exam because you beat me and I got seriously injured. Moreover, I think this guy even betrayed Longtan." Standing on the side of the heterodox, when Long City was attacked by the other world, thinking about this, Monsieur couldn't hold back anymore, and without hesitation stepped straight in front of the class monitor. Seeing this, the class monitor was a bit startled. The look in this guy's eyes seemed strange, very different from before class started, but strangely, Monsieur was not angry. Instead, he clasped his hands and bowed to the class monitor, saying, "Well said, it really made me understand, and I'm so touched. Thank you, Teacher Ng and class monitor, for pointing out my mistakes. From today on, I will definitely maintain my stance and strive to cultivate for the rise of Long City in the other world." Seeing that he seemed sincere, Teacher Ng finally put down the sword in his hand and said, "Consider it enlightenment watch and learn from Tran Hao Nian more. Go to the back of the class and stand like Chaplong Trung. Stay there until the end of class." Seeing Monsieur agree immediately, so Phi Hung was sweating nervously. This kid, Monsieur, has been neglecting practice lately. Standing in the 10th position in the 9th major class, if he stands for half a period, he might just leave early. Monsieur went to the back of the class while scratching his head, thinking it seemed very simple, like he had escaped a nightmare long ago. But how exactly should he stand? Seeing this, the classmates began to mock, "Stop trying so hard quickly, beg the teacher to forgive you. Just standing there acting all high and mighty, is it that simple? Wait a bit and go home, kid. You thought Teacher Ng was ruthless. Now it seems the punishment is still light." Tran Hao Nian still acted like a gentleman, only laughing quietly inside, thinking, "A worm ruining a pot of soup, you made it yourself, you have to bear it yourself." At that moment, after calming down, Monsieur immediately performed a series of movements, entering a beautiful stance, witnessing a series of professional maneuvers. Teacher Ng was a bit surprised, and the few who had just sneered got slapped hard in the face. It really hurt to see Monsieur's Chaplong Trung stance so strong. He's definitely stronger than the class monitor. It must be an illusion, definitely an illusion. He's trying to hold on, but he won't last a minute. They didn't know that for Monsieur. These things were just child's play. But Monsieur still decided to hide his skills and loudly begged, "Please, Teacher Ng, I'm really sorry for not practicing seriously. My movements are terrible. I will definitely work hard to improve. Please be lenient." Teacher Ng couldn't find any fault and had to turn around to continue his lecture. At this time, Tran Hao Nian was furious but still tried to appear calm on the outside. "Monsieur, if you've made me uncomfortable, I will definitely make you regret it. I'm the top student now, losing to the last in class." He couldn't hold back. At that moment, a notification window suddenly appeared before Monsieur. FireClan connection completed. Identity confirmed host fire transmitter. Monsieur saw this. Monsieur suddenly recalled the scene before death. Wasn't this flame, the cluster of fire, and the nightmare when Long City was destroyed, bursting out from the city center? Entering his body, huh? Still dazed, Monsieur saw notification windows appearing one after another. "Congratulations, host, you have become the fire transmitter of civilization. Please try your best to pass on the flame of civilization. Initial contribution points 10,000. Check shows the host body has internal injuries lasting 5 years, unfamiliar with any basic skills. Would you like to automatically allocate initial contribution points to upgrade to the best state?" Although he didn't understand what was happening, Monsieur boldly agreed. Then he felt his body change. Internal injuries caused by mistakes during training were healing. "Since last year, even doctors gave up. Now it's self-healing. I can feel the broken meridians gradually reconnecting. So comfortable, don't stop." And it didn't stop there. The FireClan system consumed 3,500 contribution points to swap and upgrade the basic Mang Ngu Quiet and raise it to expert level. Memories from a previous life related to Mang Ngu Quiet gradually appeared in Monsieur's mind. He was experiencing an ecstatic feeling, but suddenly everything stopped, leaving him stunned. "Why stop? Continue, FireClan. Keep changing freely." "Don't stop. I have plenty of contribution points." But that was just what he thought. The system notification immediately hit him. "Current remaining contribution points 3. Not enough to continue exchanging. Please accumulate more than 10,000 points. Once it's gone, it's gone." Monsieur trembled all over and began begging, "Please help me upgrade Mangu Quiet to Grandmaster first. I'll sign an IOU." But of course the FireClan system refused. "No. The flame of civilization grows stronger. The stronger the civilization, the stronger the fire transmitter. Quickly achieve civilization, create contribution. Breakthrough, gain more power, and fulfill your mission." After reading, Monsieur still doesn't understand how to earn contribution points afterward. He stood there thinking about this issue until class ended. As soon as the class was dismissed, his friends immediately looked at Monsieur, mouths agape in amazement. Wow, he really persevered. If standing correctly benefits the training of spiritual energy, it seems Monsieur, the best in class, is about to make a comeback. But at this moment, Monsieur was barely holding on. So hungry, his stomach was growling loudly. Could it be that the FireClan's body recovery and energy-consuming skill awakening both require self-supplementation? Monsieur was so hungry he was nearly blind and about to faint. Suddenly, Fi Hung, Monsieur's close friend, jumped over Monsieur. You dared to hide your skill training from me. Just by looking, Monsieur immediately recognized this close friend. Taking the opportunity, Monsieur whispered quickly, "Hurry up, Fatty Bear, I forgot to bring money today. Treat me to a meal, and tomorrow and the day after I'll treat you twice." Fi Hung said, sensing something was off, hurriedly pushing Monsieur away. "Are you serious? Since when did you become so generous?" "There must be a reason," Monsieur pointed at himself confidently. "We're brothers, different fathers, different mothers. Why would I trick you?" At first, Fi Hung was suspicious, but soon laughed and hugged Monsieur. Right besides, the whole class heard it. "Even if I had the money, I wouldn't dare to dodge the debt, and so Monsieur's plan succeeded." As soon as they arrived at the convenience store, he immediately dove into the food, devouring it to fill his hungry stomach. Witnessing this, Fi Hung was heartbroken to the point of tears. He couldn't hold back anymore and lashed out. "Monsieur, are you still human? You're a beast, man. You ate up my 2 weeks' allowance in one go, you know that." Acting on instinct, Monsieur slapped once and sent Fi Hung flying. It seemed the skill obtained from the FireClan system was genuine. Knowing he was tricked but unable to beat Fi Hung, he could only resentfully run back to class. After eating, Monsieur leisurely returned to class. On the way, he helped a nearby janitor. At that moment, the FireClan system appeared again. Helping others boosted Long Tan's righteous energy, granting contribution points plus 0.01. Monsieur was a bit surprised by this way of earning contribution points. Didn't expect it to be that simple. Back at school, Monsieur was stunned by the sight of some female students playing around. Fi Hung saw this and tapped his head, warning, "Do you want to die? Why are you staring at them like a pervert?" Monsieur gazed thoughtfully ahead. "Fatty Bear, you don't understand. Only now do I realize this normal life is truly worth our effort to protect." Fi Hung misunderstood Monsieur's meaning, blushing as he looked away. "I really admire you every time you shamelessly act so calmly." "Stop staring. Earlier you really dreamed of killing Old Strict-Head and destroying Long Tan, right? What about me in your dream? Did I get to be a great general?" Hearing this, Monsieur angrily shouted, "When did I destroy anything? I just saw some fragmented scenes." And him. Seeing Fi Hung's innocent eyes, Monsieur couldn't continue. Should he tell Fatty Bear that in the end he was just a frontline soldier? Or should he say that upgraded monsters will bring more ferocious beasts? Or that we haven't even passed the newbie stage before our doom is sealed? Even his father and mother Monsieur held their hands tightly, not knowing what to say. Finally, he looked straight at his close friend and said, "Fatty Bear, do you remember? I once dreamed of passing the university entrance exam to become a superhuman, but you wanted to join the army and be a general. We will definitely achieve our dreams. Let's work hard together for the remaining 50 days to break through." Actually, it was Monsieur who helped. After all, in the previous life, Fatty Bear also died tragically. And so the two resolved to move forward together. After the break was the literature class that the whole class eagerly awaited. While everyone sat quietly waiting for Teacher Huang, Dahao Nian suddenly announced that Teacher Huang was sick. "Everyone line up and follow me to the self-study room for review." Upon hearing this, everyone was deeply disappointed. What is this again? That class again? Bring back Teacher Huang. Bring back the literature teacher. It was said that back on Earth, kids our age studied over 20 literature lessons a week. Those were truly happy days. On the way, Dahao Nian saw Monsieur walking at the end of the line. Should deliberately stop and shout loudly, "Hurry up, be quick with your hands and feet, look at Fi Hung." Seeing this, he was extremely angry and whispered to Monsieur that he hated the fake attitude of this guy the most. "Do you know why that guy gave up the selected class and insisted on being the class president of an ordinary class? We are people who like gossip." Monsieur's ears were about to swell bigger than his face. Fi Hung immediately continued, "Isn't it because of some cultivation resources that the school gave to the class president? His family has a big company, yet he robs resources from poor students like us." Truly despicable. Monsieur looked at Dahao Nian with a contemptuous gaze. That's right. If Dahao Nian hadn't relied on connections to stay in the ordinary class, the class president position would definitely belong to Fat Bear, who is capable of obtaining those resources. At that moment, Dahao Nian looked at the two people and shouted loudly, "What's all that noise back there?" "Don't waste everyone's time." Fi Hung couldn't hold back anymore, his anger blazing as he stepped forward. "I have to teach this brat a lesson." Fortunately, Monsieur stopped him. Otherwise, it would have been a big problem. Train first, there's a long way to go, he said, though his mouth said so. But Monsieur looked at Ta Hao Nien meaningfully. Of course, he would not forgive this kind of traitor. After moving to the training center, Ta Hao Nien instructed the whole class to choose their own training goals. This place had many training tools, no different from a pro VIP gym. Without wasting time, Monsieur was determined to train hard to pass the university entrance exam, but after just one punch, his whole body felt as soft as noodles. No, I'm still too hungry, he thought. To recover internal injuries, all the energy in his body had been completely consumed by the FireClan. The FireClan helps me recover my body, but it cannot supply energy to the body. Now I am like a tank out of fuel, needing a large amount of cultivation resources to refill. Seeing Monsieur's miserable state, some female classmates showed regret. It's really a pity. Originally, Monsieur had extraordinary hope, but Ta Hao Nien kept making things difficult for him. If he didn't train, he would fall behind. He had to give the equipment to some superpowered students. Su Fi Hung led Monsieur away while comforting him. Chicken, it takes time to recover, so be patient. Monsieur now was no different from a dried corpse. His whole body was gaunt, sitting alone watching Su Fi Hung train. Mong King looked at his friend Monsieur's boxing face with a disdainful expression. Seeing that Su Fi Hung immediately wondered, Monsieur, are you criticizing my training as useless? Monsieur said it was unnecessary to waste effort like that, but it made Su Fi Hung misunderstand. I'm your brother, and you act like you're better than me? Monsieur quickly explained, No, don't misunderstand. I wasn't talking about you. I mean, now all the power moves are... Before he could finish, Su Fi Hung interrupted, All are jack right. Brother, I think today you are a bit shameless. Having no choice, Monsieur thought of a plan. He used the restroom first before acting carefully, checking if anyone was around. Then he locked the door. Quick, take off your clothes so I can study your muscles. This is really awkward. Su Fi Hung was scared, pressed his butt against the wall, not daring to move. What do you want to do to me? If I fight back, don't blame me, he said. At this moment, Monsieur asked, When you transferred Mang King down to your ribs, did you feel a power spreading out? When you stepped on the ground, did you feel a sharp pain like acupuncture needles from your soul to your knee? Right. Correct, Su Fi Hung gasped in amazement. How did you know that? Clearly, he had never told anyone about these things. Monsieur explained that he did not fully understand the profound meaning of Mang King. Half the power was running around randomly in the body. Keep training like this! Having osteoporosis is still mild. After hearing that Su Fi Hung directly hugged Monsieur's leg and cried, begging, Monsieur, you must save me. Monsieur's eyes shone brightly with the Meng symbol. The knowledge he received from the FireClan was ready to be put into effect. Come on, show me a move. After a series of maneuvers, Su Fi Hung was as happy as at a festival. Those moves just now helped me increase my arm strength by at least 3%. At that moment, the FireClan appeared, notifying ordinary citizens Su Fi Hung basic Mangnuju skill learning progress 10% ordinary citizen power increased. The overall combat power of Long City has increased. Congratulations to the owner. The civilization is getting stronger. Contribution points plus 10. Seeing this, Monsieur's eyes widened in amazement. So the martial way I exchanged from the FireClan to teach Long City citizens counts as a contribution. If I could teach the martial way of the future to the whole city so that everyone becomes 100 times stronger than in nightmares, then we could defeat all the fascists in the other world. This is the true meaning of the stronger the civilization, the stronger we become. Since this is the first contribution the Fire Tribe gave Mansu, one of the 3 rewards upgrading Mangu Quiet from expert level to grandmaster level worth 756 contribution points. B. Awakened basic gun technique worth 3 100 contribution points. C. Awakened Bavan Kin worth 1 500 contribution points. Mangu Quiet and Bavan Kin 1 hard and 1 soft. Between upgrading and awakening, Monsieur didn't know what to choose at first, but after thinking for a while, he decided to choose basic gun technique and smiled like a rogue. If it's free, of course, you have to choose the most expensive one. Why would you even hesitate? Then he looked at So Fi Hung and licked his lips slyly. Fat Bear, don't worry, I will definitely help you join the army. This smile made So Fi Hung angry. The person was sweating continuously, then the two returned to the training center to test their results. Before testing, So Fi Hung whispered to Monsieur, Where did you learn that strange technique? Monsieur said this would be explained later. Now they needed to test the limit of the fist. So Fi-hung smiled confidently and started tensing his gluteus maximus and hip muscles. Just as he was about to throw a punch, Ta Hao Nien shouted loudly, "Stop! Who allowed you to touch the punch force testing machine?" Just entered class and sneaked out with Monsieur. 20 minutes later, he returned and whispered, "Then you want to try the machine. Are you allowed yet? 5x7 times being troubled." So Fi-hung couldn't help but shout, "Class president, do you really think you are the teacher? My Mangu kin has just been enlightened. Even if you are a teacher, you cannot stop me here. Mind your own business." Ta Hao Nien sneered confidently. "I see your posture when you exert force. Twisted and contorted far from the standard of Mangu kin, you definitely can't perform the fist, let alone be enlightened. If you really want to try the punch force machine, better step aside and learn what Mangu kin really is," feeling insulted. So Fi-hung angrily rushed forward, intending to teach the class president a lesson, but Monsieur stepped in to stop him. "If that's the case, how about the class president demonstrate a bit of the standard Mangu kin, so everyone can learn from it, right?" Provoked, Ta Hao Nien took off his watch and walked straight to the punch force testing machine, huffing, "Look carefully, this is what real Mangu kin looks like." With just one punch, the machine was shocked, registering a punch force of 225 kilograms. Seeing this, the female classmates began to cheer. Last time the class president worked really hard to set the class record at 6. This time, just one swing and it's done. The class president is leveling up too fast. Passing into a prestigious university is guaranteed. Moreover, the class president's body is smaller than Fat Bear's, but his arm strength is several times stronger. At this moment, Ta Hao Nien became even more smug and looked disdainfully at the two. See that clearly. The classmates standing nearby also began to advise, so Fi-hung, "Let's all try together later, okay? Monsieur, you should also advise him." But Monsieur not only did not stop him, but also encouraged his friend Fat Bear, "I entrust this to you." So Fi-hung gritted his teeth, determined to use the punch force testing machine, but Ta Hao Nien still stood in front to block him step back. Before school ended, trying with other classmates, everyone thought So Fi-hung would lose this contest, but as soon as So Fi-hung used force, Ta Hao Nien was pushed and fell to the ground. With no one else blocking, recalling what Monsieur had taught, So Fi-hung gathered strength and threw a punch with such momentum that Ta Hao Nien, sitting nearby, was stunned into silence. With just one punch, the punch force machine was pushed back a distance, reaching a new class record of 785 kilograms. Looking at the result, So Fi-hung was stunned and looked back at his fist. He couldn't believe what he had just seen. At this moment, Monsieur pointed at him and shouted, "Fat Bear, you're playing dirty, daring to hide from me that you practice super-level Mangu kin so well." He crushed even the class president. Hearing super-level Mangu kin, everyone was curious about what it was and why it had such great power. The result was exactly as I wanted. Monsieur continued to perform. Even with money, you can't hire a good teacher to teach super-level Mangu kin. Raising your score by more than 10 points is equivalent to more than 10 points in university entrance exams. Hero, teach me super-level Mangu kin, okay? Seeing Monsieur's crying and begging act, So Fi-hung's eyes widened in surprise. "Isn't this what you just taught me?" Monsieur continued his performance. "All right, I know the time before the exam is very important to you, so I'll take the cultivation resources to pay the tuition fees so you won't suffer any loss. Listen to this SUO Fi-hung." Immediately understood the intention. Monsieur is trying to make money, huh? Then I have to act on his behalf. Hearing Monsieur speak, the whole class gradually believed this story. Continuously following the plea, "Please help SUO Fi-hung," at this moment, Monsieur made a point that even one sheep must be released. 2 sheep are better than 1. Why don't we form a study group called Mangu Kin Su Cap? Everyone can contribute resources to pay for him. You can also demonstrate your strength. Immediately, the crowd surged forward. Everyone wanted to join this group. To add university entrance exam points, suddenly the FireClan appeared again, and your proposal received everyone's approval, boosting the study spirit even more. The better the future results, the more contributions to civilization. Contribution points increased by 11 and did not stop there. Monsieur smiled fiercely and then spoke again. "Suo Fi-hung is too modest. Such a good and selfless person with real strength. Why didn't the teacher choose him as class president at first?" Immediately, all eyes turned toward Ta Hao. Sitting on the ground, Ta Hao's eyes were bitter. Then Monsieur suddenly reached out his hand. "Class president, I was just joking. Don't take it to heart." Ta Hao withdrew his hand, stood up by himself, and smiled friendly. No, the class president is just contributing for everyone. But inside he was very bitter. The university entrance exam is coming soon. I will definitely make sure you never get into university in your whole life. That evening after school, Monsieur and Suo Fi Hung divided the cultivation resources received from classmates. Monsieur, you take it all. You've missed the whole year, so you need it more. But no matter what, Monsieur still decided to split it 7-3. Having no other choice, Suo Fi Hung had to accept his friend's goodwill. Curious about this cultivation method, of course Monsieur couldn't tell the truth. He quickly made up a reason he found on the all-powerful science forum. But this Mangu Kin Siu Kap I have researched thoroughly this time, so it's fine. If you worry about any mistakes, you can tell everyone this is just a trial version, or it's from the north, or you don't have to participate. Originally, it's just a small contribution. No need to force it. After hearing this, Suo Fi Hung knew what to do, then said goodbye and left. Only Monsieur was left standing foolishly looking at the scene before him. Long Tan, he didn't like the fog before because the fog sealed the whole city. Houses in Long Tan were too dense streets, too narrow cultivation pressure, too great. Like many young people, he secretly read many reports and movies related to Earth. Each week, students only needed to study 2 periods of physical education, but dozens of periods of literature and math. Adults only needed to work 8 hours a day to earn a lot of money, buy big houses, and live well. But Earth is the homeland that can never be returned to, and the nightmare is tomorrow not yet arrived. The present is the only homeland, and one must try at all costs. Suddenly, 2 tears rolled down Monsieur's cheeks. He swore he would not let the apocalypse in his dreams become reality. After checking, FireClan's contribution points kept rising. The effect of Mangu Quiet on ordinary townspeople was extremely good. The combat power of all Long Tan increased. Just then, an announcement echoed in the sky. All citizens, please pay attention. Latest news from the City Meteorological Bureau tonight. Fog will cover the city. Beasts will invade the city, mainly appearing in one area. Forecasted to be the gold refining workshop in the North City, the Survival Committee ordered the Long Kwang group to immediately prepare first-level combat. Other areas prepare third-level combat. All citizens pay attention. Stay alert. Prepare to fight. Always remember we are the Expeditionary Army of Earth. Earth and we are one. Long Tan must win. Hearing this news, Monsieur's eyes widened in horror. Immediately, he hurried home. Because his family was poor, he had to squeeze onto a crowded bus, unlike the wealthy Ta Hao sitting in a luxury car. After a while, the bus arrived. Monsieur looked up at this familiar scene, smiling with satisfaction. Finally home. When I walk around this shabby market, I think of all the warm memories and familiar sounds. They make me feel very real, truly the smoke and fire of the human world. At this moment, a voice called from behind, "Brother, come quickly to help me, I'm so tired." Seeing his little sister, Jia Thao, smiling brightly, Monsieur suddenly held his head in discomfort as countless images appeared before her eyes, showing that wherever she went, she would bring endless dark nightfall with her. The scene of the dark shadow demon girl being trampled by his little sister seemed to have deeply imprinted in Monsieur's mind. He had to keep calling her before he regained his senses and thought about the recent scene. Monsieur, sweating all over, hurriedly asked his little sister, Tu Thao, "Tell me if you had power, would you trample me underfoot?" Tu Thao smiled and replied, "Oh heavens, dear elder brother, what exactly are you thinking about? How could I do such a cruel thing?" But contrary to that obedient appearance, inside she was laughing gleefully. "Hey, you guessed it right. If I had power, the first thing I would do is trample you underfoot. You bad brother, the harder you get trampled, the better, ha ha ha." At this moment, Monsieur still felt worried. It wasn't right. In the nightmare, Tu Thao turning into a dark shadow demon must have a reason. But what exactly was that reason? To be sure, he asked further, "Let me ask you something. Do you have any grievances against me?" Just like before, Tu Thao said no grievances on the outside, but was full of resentment inside. Monsieur, without any suspicion, still bullied his little sister as usual. "Who told you to trample me like that after you turned into a dark shadow demon? If you can be beaten now, then just beat me to your heart's content, then we'll see if I can return from the nightmare." "I absolutely will not let her become a dark shadow demon that scares others. I will make her the happiest little princess loved by everyone in the whole world." Thus the two siblings teased each other while heading home together. Just as they arrived home, Tu Tao immediately told their mother that she was bullied by her brother. Seeing their mother come out with a familiar plate of fried spring rolls, Monsieur couldn't help but shed tears. After the terrifying nightmare meeting, his beloved family made him extremely happy. At that moment, his father opened the door and came in saying, "It's impolite to be outside. I already heard you talking about your brother. Quickly, go turn on the TV to watch the live stream of the battle situation." Quickly, Tiu Tao turned on the TV as her father said. The latest news at 8:50 p.m. The Army's assault team is about to complete the deployment of the northern battlefield with the Crab Iron Machine. This steel machine is the most advanced and newest war machine of Long Tan. The monsters from the other world will finally be drowned in the flood of iron and steel from Long Tan. Next was an interview with a professor about the weaknesses of the monsters, which Tiu Tao had heard too many times in class already. So Tiu Tao, feeling bored, changed the channel. Just as she saw the appearance of Master Laveau on TV, her eyes lit up brightly and she started drooling. That's just what her parents thought. In fact, Tiu Tao was looking at the room downstairs, at least a 200 square meters room, and wanted to live there so badly. The thoughts of this girl are truly hard to grasp. At that moment, the power suddenly cut off and the ground shook violently. Monsieur immediately realized the monsters were coming. The loudspeaker announcement followed right after. The residential area of Tianpukuyen is opening an important stronghold. All energy is prioritized to supply the defense base. Upon receiving this notice, everyone quickly returned indoors. The steel wall was quickly erected and the defense stronghold was completed. Ready to resist the approaching insect monsters, all the surrounding energy was prioritized to supply the bunker and the high-voltage electric tower, easily repelling the monsters advancing. At this moment, Monsieur used binoculars to observe the situation from inside the house. He was extremely worried, so many of them. Fortunately, he had already consumed all the nutrients beforehand, but he still didn't know if he could withstand this battle. Suddenly, his father rushed over worriedly to ask about the battle situation. Monsieur reassured him that everything was temporarily stable and still under control. At this moment, a queen and a big dog also entered. "You two just watch outside. The two of us will handle the rest," said the mother and daughter to the queen and the big dog. "Don't worry," Monsieur said, giving instructions, but was immediately scolded by the queen. An explosion outside attracted everyone's attention. The monster army appeared, and a new type of monster easily destroyed the high-voltage electric tower and the bunker. Seeing this, Monsieur's father was extremely worried. It was a mutated type of fire-flame black armor insect, the Phi Thien Hoa Diem Trung, a super-mutated insect that is not easy to deal with. "Get closer and keep fighting. Tonight might not be easy at all." The father and son then picked up their guns to fight alongside the residents of the Tien Puk Uyen housing area, but with the agility and hard shells of the monsters defeating them, could only rely on luck. If the situation does not change, many people will die tonight. At this moment, the firebug appeared and asked if you want to start the mutant painter hand combat mission. First time, no. The reward for the first combat mission is 1,500 contribution points and the option to choose any basic skill to level up. Without hesitation, Monsieur immediately agreed. Then he began to use the shooting skill he had received earlier. Seeing Monsieur not moving, the queen grandmother worriedly approached and asked if he was scared or if he wanted her to take over. When she was young, she was probably very fierce. Suddenly, Monsieur fired 3 shots in a row, successfully killing a Phi Thien fire flame bug. Contribution points increased by 1 and proficiency rose by 1 degree. The shooting skill also increased to 25%. Witnessing this, the queen grandmother happily patted her grandson's head and said, "Well done, Suni. These 3 shots of yours are almost as good as when your grandfather was alive." After that, Monsieur easily defeated each monster one by one. The longer he fought, the more his past life memories returned, seeing his son's spear technique like a god. His father praised Monsieur, who then smiled and said, "Last year I was injured and it was hard to practice martial arts, so I trained in spear techniques instead." Then the father and son continued fighting tirelessly. Seeing the number of monsters decrease, the father advised Monsieur to take care of his health a bit. At that moment, Monsieur tensely recalled information from his past life. No, there was still a mysterious and terrifying monster that had not appeared yet. He had to find it at all costs. After searching for a while, he finally found it. It was the one from his dream that had ambushed this place. The reason his sister became a dark female ghost. Immediately, Monsieur aimed his gun at it and fired, but the bullet couldn't even injure it, let alone kill it. Indeed, relying on his basic spear technique now was basically unable to hurt it. To deal with it, at least a Grandmaster level was needed. Possibly even a perfect level. Suddenly, the monster shot up into the sky and emitted a deafening sound. The other monsters seemed to receive the order and crazily attacked the humans. The soldiers also sensed something was wrong and risked their lives to protect the safety of the people here. Time passed like that. Monsieur frantically fired his gun, trying to increase his skill proficiency, thinking, I won't let you achieve your goal. Definitely before these monsters fully awaken, I must level up my basic spear technique. At this time, the army had detected the appearance of the special monster and hurriedly reported to the higher-ups. It was a super beast again. Thienpuk Uyen detected the super beast. Unknown repeat once more, Thienpuk Uyen detected a type of flying super beast with a hard shell, requesting extraordinary people to come for reinforcement. But at the most critical moment, the communication device was affected and no information could be transmitted. At this rate, all the people here would be devoured by monsters. At this moment, Monsieur's father panicked and pulled his son away. Sieur, quickly take Mom and everyone and run! That huge thing in the sky may be a super beast, but Monsieur was still shooting with great focus. Dad, just take everyone away. I will stay here. I know what this bastard is. Returning outside due to the fog, the army could not aim accurately and had no way to kill this super beast. Under the enhancement of the super beast, the monsters suddenly became many times stronger, breaking through the defensive stronghold and entering the residential area. Fortunately, the defense team arrived in time. No civilian casualties occurred for now. Meanwhile, Monsieur's first mutant shooter combat mission was completed. He received 500 contribution points and the chance to upgrade a basic skill. Although rushed, Monsieur calmly handled it. Wait a moment. First, he invested the contribution points into the basic spear technique, increasing proficiency rapidly. With a large amount of contribution points, the basic spear skill immediately leveled up 2 ranks to Grandmaster level. Next was the system reward to upgrade the skill to perfect level. Now, all the weaknesses of the super beast were clear in Monsieur's mind. With an armor-piercing magazine in hand, he was confident he could kill this monster. At that moment, his sister Bao Doi rushed over to help with a homemade gun. It was unknown where she got it, but she successfully attracted the attention of the super beast. Then, witnessing the beast charging towards him, Monsieur gradually recalled memories from his previous life. In that life, Tu Tao helped to eliminate the beast. The loud gunfire, on the contrary, attracted that terrifying demon. Because of that, Mother was seriously injured and had to be hospitalized. Afterward, a series of misfortunes occurred. Tu Tao was extremely ashamed. Perhaps it was at that moment that she fell into an obsession. This is the beast that caused my hometown to decline for over 10 years and harmed my family. In this life, I will not let that nightmare happen again, carrying with me a blazing anger. Monsieur recklessly faced the beast and shot, injuring one of its wings. Seeing this, his father panicked and shouted loudly, "Monsieur, are you crazy?" At this moment, Monsieur decided not to retreat, aiming straight at the beast, waiting for the right moment. "Father, trust me." The injured beast was extremely furious as it opened its wide mouth. Then it created an energy orb, preparing to unleash a powerful attack. This was exactly the moment Monsieur was waiting for. He aimed directly at the energy orb. Without hesitation, he fired. The energy orb was hit and exploded on the spot, causing the beast to burst into flames. The beast, propelled by momentum, crashed into the wall and then fell to the ground, collapsing right there. Seeing this, the soldiers were extremely joyful, their morale instantly rising. The beast had been defeated. It's Elder Man from Unit 704. He was once the Army's sharpshooter. Truly, the older, the ginger, the spicier. Everyone charge and eliminate those kids. Returning to Monsieur's side because he overused his skills. He had exhausted his energy excessively and had no strength left, so he collapsed to the ground. I did it. Truly perfect. At the moment the beast unleashed its ultimate move, it used the diffused spiritual energy bullets within its body, using its own power to kill itself. Indeed, the nightmare can be shattered, the future can be changed, and finally it was in my hands. In a life-or-death situation, Monsieur still thought of ways to change the nightmare future ahead. At this time, Tu Tao hurriedly held a first aid kit and ran over, "Brother, please don't die. I haven't avenged yet. No, I haven't repaid you yet." The girl cried while feeding medicine to her brother, looking very pitiful. Seeing this, Monsieur tried to open his eyes. "Who said?" But before he could finish, he was tormented by his sister. "You're going to be fine now. How do you feel? Are you conscious yet?" Truly a dark night demon so cruel. Grandma Vuong, worried about her grandson, also came forward to check on Monsieur. His nose was bleeding heavily, but he still tried to reassure her, then turned to instruct his father. "Dad, just tell everyone outside that you killed the beast. Please help me keep this a secret." After his father and everyone agreed to keep it secret, Monsieur finally felt at ease to rest. It was finally over. This life, it was as if he had saved everyone, but just as he closed his eyes, he was horrified to realize something was wrong. He hadn't received any notification from the Fire Tribe. Could it be? Although his body had reached its limit, Monsieur still tried his best to stand up and crawl step by step toward the beast. His body was ultimately too weak. His wounds had not healed. He also could not grasp the great spiritual energy. Although he possessed a perfect foundational spear technique and memories from his previous life about the beast's weaknesses and consciousness, the coordination between his body and brain was not in sync. It would take a long time to train properly. The recent injury had minor mistakes in timing and accuracy, so he couldn't blow up the beast's head. Could it be that, like his sister, 80 to 90% had already been corrupted? Fate is like a raging river that cannot be changed by human strength. But I still want to change it. I will use the Manhwa strike to kill it. Carrying the determination to change this tragic fate, Monsieur intended to risk everything to deal with the beast here. At that moment, a bolt of lightning brightly pierced the sky, striking the beast's head. In an instant, the one who acted was a superhuman revered by thousands. The beast almost swept away everything around here. In his eyes, it was nothing more than trash now. Monsieur, not wanting to attract attention, hid in a corner to check the Fire Tribe notification. You have extended the critical time by 5 minutes, causing intense sabotage. Before the superhuman arrived in the battle to protect targeting, the beast played an important role. Contribution value plus 1,978 due to smooth and good handling. Responding to the special citizens of the Bach family, the corruption rate decreased by 2%. The chaos level of the future Dragon City decreased contribution value plus 500, and the ability to awaken the foundational skill, Long Shakin. This primary harvesting support skill can be said to be extremely fierce, but the rewards are also very rich. Finally, Monsieur could breathe a sigh of relief. 1 hour later, the urgent task of processing the beast's corpse was carried out. If not handled quickly, the meat and important parts of the beast would become unusable. Meanwhile, Monsieur sat quietly in the corner, slowly recovering after being injected with high-energy nutrients and finishing the meat his mother cooked. He finally stabilized. Changing too many things made my head still ache faintly. If the demon eye Kim Shi showed signs of infection, it meant the beast was continuously evolving. The war level was about to lose control of me. I definitely had to grow stronger quickly. It seemed relying solely on the memories of perfect level skills was not enough. I needed to constantly apply them in real combat. Only then could I reach the peak where body and consciousness were unified. But I had no cultivation. Resources was hungry all day. My legs were weak and limp, and even the skin was killing me. There was a black armor bug that couldn't even breathe. How could I fight in real combat like this? Thinking about the current situation, Monsieur tore at his hair and cried hoo-hoo, with his family's financial condition truly not enough to eat. At this moment, Tu Thao suddenly spoke up, asking, "Brother, you're still collecting insect corpses outside. Don't you think they smell bad?" Hearing that Monsieur suddenly remembered important information that's right in the previous life, my mother was seriously injured by a super beast during harvesting, and I also dropped out to gather money to treat her and earn money for my sister's schooling. Father had brought me into the profession of fighting beasts and had continuously harvested countless times. The fierce beast was a long-time technician, and the harvester seemed to be able to make money. Mentioning money, Monsieur's eyes sparkled brightly without hesitation. He immediately called the fire species to check the exchange list: 3 Wen Kin for 1 500 contribution value, Dragon Snake Keen for 2 100 contribution value, and Primary Harvesting Technique for 998 contribution value. Current contribution value was 2,478. Just seeing the exchange list, Monsieur's eyes lit up and saliva dripped everywhere. Truly, heaven was helping me. The primary harvesting technique only required 998 contribution value. If in the previous life I had spent 10 years awakening and leveling up without success instead of doing unfamiliar things, it was better to do what I was used to. After exchanging for the primary harvesting technique, Monsieur upgraded straight to expert level. Countless knowledge was transmitted directly into his head: expert level of primary harvesting technique and perfect level of basic business law. It could also produce special effects. I really chose correctly. Now, most of the memories from the previous life showed that the beasts had not yet evolved. Outside, it was like saying when they appeared, I would be the one who understood them best in this dragon city. Right. Ha ha ha, thinking about this. Monsieur couldn't help but laugh out loud with a very sinister look. Tu Tao, standing nearby, saw this and was a bit scared, then smiled in a sinister way. Perhaps he was thinking some evil thoughts again. The next night, Monsieur's father prepared the gear and carefully reminded, "Sieur Tu Tao, you kids should go to bed early. Father is going to the northern battlefield city to harvest." Seeing that Monsieur immediately asked to follow, "Dad, I want to go too. Think it over." This look seemed like the exam wouldn't go well. Instead of attacking and job hunting, it was better to be a harvester. Seeing his son's determination, his father carefully thought, "Asieu, this kid's business law is really not bad, but his body is too weak. There's an 80% chance he won't pass the university entrance exam." Although harvesting was dangerous, it was indeed a normal profession with a chance to awaken extraordinary power. Then he happily agreed with his son to take him along. To broaden his horizons a bit, Tu Tao grabbed Monsieur's hand with sparkling eyes. "Brother, are you really going to be a harvester?" Seeing his sister worried for him, Monsieur was deeply moved. Hearing his brother say he was going to do such a dangerous job, even a dark demon girl felt a bit worried. After all, kinship is like fingers and toes, but that was just what he thought. Tu Tao looked at her brother seriously and said, "If you encounter a black armor bug, such a delicious beast, remember to bring it home for me to eat, okay?" Immediately, Monsieur wanted to throw away this sibling affection. "Kinship my ass, I shouldn't expect anything from this dark demon girl." After preparing, the two father and son set off together. Although beasts were very hateful, their corpses could maintain regeneration, the only strategy to develop Dragon City. If the army just blew everything up, crushing all the beasts to dust, it would be thrilling, but waste a large amount of ammunition and the precious lives of soldiers, and gain no benefits at all. Just like that. In less than 3 to 5 years, Long will be depleted of resources, starve to death, and be locked up until death. But superhumans can use weapons to kill thousands of monster heads. The corpse was very well preserved, and a lot of resources could be recovered. This was the information provided by the Fire Tribe, and Monsieur understood many things after hearing it. Father blamed the army for only assisting in fighting monsters at critical moments. It still depends on the superhumans. When arriving, Monsieur's father carefully instructed his son that the job of a soldier is very hard. The harvester's job is not easy either. You must be brave and cautious. Don't be nervous later, just follow father's example. Monsieur said he wasn't as nervous as father, but he didn't believe it at all. How could he not be nervous? The real battlefield and our small house are not the same concept. Tens of thousands of monsters, blood everywhere, corpses piled up. How could one not be nervous? Nervous or not, father and son, what is there to fear? Remember that year to avoid it. Father continued telling more, but Monsieur lied, really no more. Stop it, I'm nervous. I want to pee now. The aura of high-level monsters stimulates the nervous center in a newcomer's body who has never been to the battlefield, making it very easy to lose bladder control. Seeing his son say he was bored, Father Monsieur gave advice and passed on a secret for the first time as a harvester. Wear a diaper under your pants to avoid wetting yourself. To avoid bad smells, Monsieur judged with his eyes. "Where on earth did you find a diaper at midnight?" Unexpectedly, his father immediately took one out. "Look, what is this? When we arrive, find a corner to change it. I'll help you cover it. There's nothing to be ashamed of." Monsieur was helpless and screamed. Father and son suddenly felt very confident about the college entrance exam. "I don't want to be a harvester anymore. Please let me go home." But since we've arrived, there's no way to just leave like that. After arriving, Father Monsieur carefully instructed that Mr. Tom is the company leader. Whether his son becomes a harvester or not depends on him. Then he said he'd decide later. Hurry up a bit, be obedient. This fat guy is Tam Vin Fat, the general director of the Recycle and Restore Company, Juham. Seeing father and son Monsieur, he immediately asked, "Is this your son?" Father Monsieur bowed humbly to Mr. Tom. "I've told you before." "Look, a fat sheep came knocking at my door. Tom Vin Fat started to make things difficult for me, so how should I put it? I was injured before. In this situation, I don't know how to talk to my brother-in-law." Father Monsieur understood and quickly stepped forward, holding hands and pleading, "I was slightly injured last year, but have recovered. I personally brought the boy here. In less than 2 years, he will definitely be a strong assistant. Mr. Tam, please help." He shoved a card into Tam Vin Fat's hand. Monsieur's eyes widened in shock. "Oh, it seems to be the gold card of Long Tan. This card is worth at least 10,000 yuan. Does father really have that much money? Should I rob this fat Tom Vin Fat's wallet later?" He thought about snatching the card back. Holding the card, Tom Vin Fat's attitude changed drastically. Smiling cheerfully, "All right then. After all, your harvesting team is just a branch of the company. Whoever you want to bring to learn the trade has nothing to do with the company, just don't cause any trouble. Causing trouble for me is fine. But if my brother-in-law finds it troublesome, that won't be good." Right Father Monsieur noticed the cold warning in these words and felt a chill down his spine. He understood, we absolutely will not cause trouble for Mr. Tam or the company. "Monsieur, hurry up and thank Uncle Tom." Monsieur obediently bowed and greeted, but Tom Vin Fat showed disdain and waved them away. "Stop talking and get to work. Don't be lazy." In his mind, he had dark thoughts about the father and son who could accumulate so much. It seems that this Manhwa son has a huge exploitation space here. When he left, Monsieur looked up and stared after him. "I feel that Tom Vin Fat is even more hateful than Ta Hao Nian, right?" Seeing this, his father reminded him Monsieur Director Tom is not someone easy to offend. At that moment, Monsieur's past life memories appeared. "That's right, I remember now. I feel that this Judge Vin Fat is even more annoying than Ta Hao Nian." Seeing that your father immediately reminded that the super director judge is not someone easy to offend. At that moment, Monsieur's past life memories appeared. "That's right, I remember now. In the previous life, this guy seemed to have harmed my father terribly after successfully bribing on the way." Monsieur wondered why his father, who has been harvesting for years and is respected by everyone, did not establish his own position but kept working here. His father explained that starting a company is not that simple. They don't have that much capital, nor do they have social connections to supply the bodies of beasts. He endured for 2 years waiting for his son to master the skills and his sister to enter university. Only then would they consider the next step. "Father definitely won't let you suffer injustice." Suddenly, Monsieur seriously asked, "Father, have you ever thought that beasts might appear more frequently?" Seeing that your father didn't understand you, continued, "Recently, a teacher came to our school for a short training session. He said that beasts will soon complete their evolution. With more and more violent appearances before us, didn't our residential area already encounter a super beast today? This is both a threat and a good opportunity. If we want to be rich and even change our destiny, we must seize this opportunity. But it seems like your father doesn't care much, is that so? Let's just work first, then figure things out later. Let father teach you how to harvest beasts." Monsieur's gaze remained the same. He did not change his determination to carry out this plan. "If we have returned from dreams, there is no reason to rely on others anymore. I will establish my own power so I can truly hold my destiny in my hands." After walking for a while, the two arrived at the workplace. The first thing Monsieur's father said was to ask if his son was wearing a diaper yet. Truly speechless. Then your father began to instruct, "Today we will harvest species with hard shells, mainly the scorpion with a big tail and yellow patterns." At this time, others also gathered enthusiastically to welcome Monsieur. They had never seen so many beasts before. "The scene is very exciting, isn't it? Come here and touch it a bit. Many uncles here won't let you get hurt. Look, this one is still moving. It startled me right, seeing that I received so much attention. Monsieur could only say thank you. After all, in the previous life, you were very familiar with this job. There is nothing surprising anymore." Then Monsieur's father began to demonstrate, "Monsieur, this is a large-tailed scorpion with yellow patterns relatively complete. I will teach you gradually. Watch carefully. In front of the tail, there is slightly fatty meat. The hard shell can be directly used as armor and can also be smelted into an alloy. The mucus in the body is very rich. It can nurture giant worms. Its venom can be refined into medicine to activate extraordinary power deep inside. The hardness of the stinger is very high, making it the best bullet for snipers with natural effectiveness. Along with corrosion and strong poison, don't be afraid, it's not worth much. Just destroy it and we can repair it later." Taking the tools, Monsieur started working. Based on information provided by the FireClan and his flexible skills, Monsieur gradually immersed himself in the work. After the nerve is separated, it needs to be poured into the activity of nerve cells at a concentration of 37% to maintain freshness. The butterfly-shaped blade has a suitable curvature. It can perfectly separate flesh and shell. The negative pressure suction device can easily collect and preserve the scorpion meat intact. Finally, use vacuum to absorb the gas fluid and extract the mucus. In an instant, the entire beast corpse was fully processed without wasting any part. The FireClan immediately appeared to announce a reward for the first standard resource harvest, adding a contribution value plus 3 beginner-level expert skills to increase proficiency. 1.1%. Since it has been a long time without practice, Monsieur was a bit unfamiliar and his movements were not very smooth. But witnessing the previous scene, the whole harvesting team froze eyes wide in shock, realizing they had been careless and too fast. Monsieur quickly thought of an explanation for the elders. "There is a secret I must tell. Actually, since I was young, I dreamed of becoming a harvest king. Every time father went to work, I secretly trained hard, especially last year when I was injured before the university entrance exam. With a small hope, I became more determined and practiced crazily 10 times more than the teachers. They helped me a lot, plus persistent effort. The encouragement from family in heaven will not disappoint people, which is the state everyone saw. Hearing this, everyone believed it and looked toward your father. No wonder a key high school student is truly different. Brother Mon has such a capable successor. Later, just wait and enjoy the blessings." Monsieur doesn't understand anything at all, staring blankly at his son, Monsieur. "Since he was little, did you want to be a harvester? Why have I never heard you say that before? Why?" Monsieur continued to act. "Isn't it because Cha is the person you admire the most in your whole life? You are shy to admit it. That's a bit cheesy. Your father believed it and was very proud of his son, the foolish child. If you didn't say it, wouldn't Cha realize that the person you admire is me?" So everything about Monsieur's unusual skills was overlooked. Although outwardly happy, inside Monsieur was full of thoughts. Monsieur is both sensible and capable. Unfortunately, Cha is really useless, lacking the ability to help you enter the extraordinary regular department, only able to let you follow Cha to be a harvester in this lowly place. But he had thought a lot already. Monsieur was not self-conscious, but very much looking forward to Cha. Let's continue. Just now, after practical testing combined with theoretical lessons in class, it seems you have found the feeling and started harvesting the previous life sensations of Monsieur gradually returning. The movements became more and more flexible. At that moment, he suddenly stopped staring at the monster in front of him, unexpectedly encountering this surprise. Kim Yuin saw his son even knew this thing. Monsieur was even more amazed. Immediately, Monsieur excused himself that the biology teacher had just explained it, so I just knew. Then he prepared to harvest Kim Yuin, preparing knives number 91422 and lamb knife number 581, as well as the armor thread and bone detector. In addition, he prepared a stabilizing cooling liquid with a concentration of 35%, adding 1% secret silver inside. Inside Kim Yulin's body, it is very likely to open advanced documents that must be well preserved. No wonder an experienced person can tell what to prepare just by looking. But before he could act, he was stopped. Monsieur said, "Just leave it. For now, the former manager will come to handle it later." At this moment, Monsieur remembered the complex structure of Kim Yuin. Only slightly less than a super beast, all handled by the former manager or tiger. But looking at Kim Yulin's state, he hesitated. After rechecking, he was surprised to find that the nerves and neural bridges of Kim Yuin had been exposed in the air for too long. At any moment, it could lose control due to mutant blood-flesh-spirit energy turning into a ticking bomb. Others also began checking. The smell was somewhat off the decayed material unrelated to us, but if the harvest fails, the tiger will blame someone and no one benefits. Hearing that, Monsieur was very worried. No Cha is relying on the basic income from the 9 heats, mainly based on the value of this Kim Yuin, which is so high. Absolutely cannot be ignored. Looking at the knife in his hand, Monsieur decided to act no problem. "You all rest a bit, Cha will help you. Our teacher just taught us how to dissect this Kim Yuin, but just as he started, he was stopped." Monsieur stopped and said, "Let me do it." At this moment, Monsieur stopped the person blocking him. "This Kim Yuin was opened by me. If anything happens, it will be my responsibility." Hearing that, the person stopped blocking. "An old man causing trouble with a kid. How many of you want to play? I'm not playing." Then Monsieur said to his friends, "If you want to go, then go. No need to stay here and get involved with the two of us." But he underestimated these old friends. They not only didn't leave, but all wanted to help, saying, "What are you talking about? Monsieur is like our own nephew. How can we let the two of you bear it all? Although we are rough old men, just one Kim Yuin head is nothing. Brother Mon, don't even think about monopolizing this Kim Yuin. If there's money, everyone earns together. If something happens, everyone shares the burden. To not disappoint everyone, Monsieur carefully started harvesting Kim Yuin. It didn't take long for him to find the important material stabilizing cooling liquid with secret silver. Seeing the perfect operation and preserved materials, even those with years of harvesting experience had their eyes wide in amazement. What this neural bridge spirit transformation is fresh and active, at least 80% activity. Perfect. It must be said that our nephew's technique is excellent. Indeed, young men are the most formidable. Seeing his son pay attention to this material, Monsieur carefully reminded Monsieur to be careful. This neural bridge spirit transformation just separated and is very active. It might be violently shocked. On the strong side, after observing carefully, he suddenly smiled mysteriously. It seems there is a very valuable treasure in this orb. Others also began to remind him. That's right, brother man. Last year, Tiu Siu was injured mainly because of nervous life issues, right? Isn't the Kim Yuin nerve spirit ball the best medicinal item? Afraid the son would have bold thoughts? Father Man hurriedly stopped Siu, telling him not to think anymore. This is a trophy that people had to risk their lives fighting each other to obtain. We are just the harvesters. Before Monsieur could explain, Father interrupted, saying he knew he wanted to enter a regular school and also knew that last year's injury was a huge blow to him. Talking back and forth, it's all because Father lacks capability, but even if we are poor and have no way, we cannot take others' things. Seeing Father so tense, Monsieur felt helpless. Father has thought too much. He really misunderstood. Not wanting to explain much, Monsieur turned and left. Father, don't say more. Go back to the camp and rest a bit. In his mind, he was thinking about how to advise Father and others to establish their own status. Just after stepping outside a bit, Monsieur heard a loud voice calling, "Seven-eyed spirit wolf must catch up. Maybe this is the first gold chest." Thinking of money, Monsieur got excited and couldn't hold back anymore. But when he arrived, he found someone had come earlier, so he quickly hid to the side beside the corpse of the beast. Nin Lao observed and spoke to his granddaughter, Loi Thi. Recently, the spirit wolf's evolution is not bad. This seven-eyed spider wolf is just right for your training. Hearing this, Nin Loi Thi immediately took out the prepared tools. Yes, Grandpa, I only need 8 minutes to finish it. Seeing her prepare to act, Monsieur hid to the side, very puzzled why it was this young lady taking action. Unless they didn't know the situation of the seven-eyed spirit wolf. Lang, worried, decided to reveal himself, shouting loudly, "Wait, old sir, my name is Monsieur. Our family is preparing to open a resource recovery company. Sorry to bother you." Seeing he knew the etiquette of harvesters, Nin Lao was very surprised. Bothering harvesters is a big taboo. Young man, if you know this, why stop my granddaughter from harvesting the seven-eyed spider? Wolf, Monsieur immediately explained. Old sir, I really dare not hide it. This is a beast in the process of evolution, a seven-eyed spider wolf, a super beast stuck between level 1 and level 2. Its internal structure is very weak now. The newly formed poison sac is as thin as a cicada wing. Once destroyed, all materials will be destroyed. If handled by the young lady's previous method, it will definitely result in a failed harvest. Looking at the name tag in Monsieur's hand, Nin Loi Thi showed contempt. So you're a poor harvester. No wonder even Grandpa's 100-shot ghost hand didn't recognize it. Nin Lao then kindly asked the young man if he had a master. You just arrived here and haven't looked yet. How can you be sure it's evolving? Monsieur confidently replied. Old sir, I am self-taught and have been practicing for 15 years, considered an old harvester now. As for the seven-eyed spirit wolf and the seven-eyed wolf, both are from the same clan, but their death screams differ slightly, making them easy to distinguish. This statement is nothing but a slap in the face to an experienced old man like Nin Lao. Both Nin Loi Thi got furious and shouted, "Who are you trying to scare an old harvester with decades of experience? Moreover, Grandpa didn't even recognize a trainee like you. How could he recognize it?" Monsieur hurriedly explained, "Old sir, what I said is true. Although its external form remains that of a seven-eyed spider wolf, many internal organs have begun to mutate. Can you break the outer shell of this super beast? We'll see soon enough." Seeing Monsieur was not lying, Nin Lao decided to test it. Although Nin Loi Thi obeyed Grandpa and stepped back, she was very annoyed inside. "You rotten brat, you deliberately came to cause trouble for me, right?" Then Nin Lao took out tools and approached the super beast. "Young man, if you want to learn some tricks, watch carefully." With just a few moves, the super beast's shell was easily separated, truly worthy of a seasoned old master. But Monsieur noticed Nin Lao's trembling arm. It turned out the old man was injured. No wonder he doesn't want to handle it himself. Looking at his condition, his first gold chest seems secure. You gave a fierce smile and happily approached Nin Loi Thi, saying, "Miss Nin, you probably still have 300,000 cash, right?" Nin Loi, the feeling no sympathy, responded indifferently to the question, "What is this for?" Monsieur continued, "Look, Nin, old master might have some mental issues. He definitely needs someone to help with this operation." The harvested materials alone are worth more than 300,000, but combined with my experience and the dual sword technique, at least the most valuable poison pouch can be perfectly obtained. Separately, plus other materials, the value has reached at least over 1,000,000 already. Everyone knows each other by fate. I only take 300,000 as a small contribution to society. After hearing these words, Nin Loi Thi was furious and shouted loudly. Even if my grandfather is injured, he is the 100-shot devil hand. Even if help is needed, I am here. I don't need a lousy intern like you to help me, he said. Let me tell you right now. Nin Old Master was so tense he was sweating profusely and said, Loi Thi, stop talking, I will go see for myself. The boy said it was true, and Loi Thi's expression was astonished. She said the aura here is wrong. This is not the seven-eyed spider wolf. Nin Old Master also said, indeed it is not the seven-eyed spider wolf, but the rare seven-eyed dragon wolf evolving. In his heart he thought, unexpectedly the 100-shot devil hand was defeated because of an injury by a low-level super beast. Both Loi Thi and Nin Old Master stood observing with awkward expressions. Monsieur stood behind them, short and small, watching the two, but Loi Thi turned and glanced at him, making Monsieur shut his mouth. Loi Thi, with a sulky face, asked him, Brother, is there something wrong? Monsieur scratched his head and replied, It's okay. The seven-eyed dragon wolf is indeed rare. There is no super mutant or strange beast. Each word seemed to fall into the minds of Loi Thi and Nin Old Master. Loi Thi said to Monsieur, Can you really help Grandpa fully harvest it and only charge 300,000? Monsieur replied, 500,000. Hearing this, Nin Old Master said, Young man, if you can help this old man, just maintain the poison pouch at 70%, and this old man will immediately transfer you 500,000. Monsieur scratched his head and said, I still play super strength and senses normally. I can only be his assistant. But deep inside, he sighed with relief, almost saying he would guide the old man to complete the task. Nin Old Master, pulling his hair in frustration, said, Then you be my first assistant. My granddaughter will be the second assistant. Let's start. Then the three of them prepared to set off. Monsieur handed Nin Old Master a sharp knife and said, I know you want to use knife number 3 combined with number 12 to remove the lungs first. But look at its lung pouch. It has many wrinkles and a very fragile structure. If you act naturally, it might be damaged, affecting its quality. Then he pointed at the gallbladder and explained, I suggest starting from the fluid ducts behind the lungs, first draining all around and finally dealing with the lungs. These fluid ducts are much sturdier than before and not easy to break. What do you think, Old Master Nin? Nin Old Master replied, I also have this idea. At this moment, the system panel showed Elite Citizen Ninja following the prompt to deepen understanding of the seven-eyed dragon wolf contribution value plus 15. Then they dissected and extracted valuable items from the monster, placing them into jars on the shelf. Nin Old Master looked at Monsieur and thought, This kid as an assistant makes harvesting very comfortable. Maybe I should teach him a bit. He asked Monsieur Little Man, If it were you, what method would you use to extract it? Monsieur replied, From below stimulate inward to the 4th level of the reverse observation technique. Nin Old Master's eyes widened in surprise. He said, This is it, then paused, thinking inside. Behind this mysterious youth, there is someone who has already advanced to the 4th level of the reverse observation technique. If this method is used, the extraction time will be shortened to only 5%. Who is he? Who is his teacher? What kind of research team and powerful force does he have behind him? The system notified Elite Citizen Ninja wants to deepen understanding of the 4th level of the reverse observation technique, contribution value plus 55. Inside, Monsieur was also smiling. Ha ha, the learning ability of elite monsters is really strong. I just gave a simple example and they already understand. Elder Nin glanced strongly at Monsieur and said strongly to Tiu Hu, You just teach me your secret techniques casually, the elder in your family. Monsieur then bent his arm and explained. Sorry, I was just joking with you two earlier. Please forgive me, I have an unspeakable hardship regarding my master. Before releasing me, the teacher said that techniques need to be exchanged because to awaken Long Tan, it absolutely cannot be concealed. Hearing that, Loi Thi asked, Then why did you ask me for 300,000? Monsieur explained. Miss Nin, we have only known each other a short time, but she has some misunderstanding with me. This 300,000 is my initial capital. With it, I can build my own team and further realize the goal of contributing greatly to Long Tan. Better. He looked up at the sky and continued, "This 300,000 is not for personal enjoyment, but an investment in the new flame of Earth's civilization in another world." Elder Nin's expression was astonished. He could feel it. When Mantiu-hu spoke, there was a real light in his eyes, truly a contribution to Long Tan. So young, yet with such a mind truly rare. Loi Ti's expression was also shy. She pondered that she did not expect he would have such responsibility. "I was wrong to doubt him. His level is far beyond." Monsieur said, "Enough talk, let's get to work. I will handle the last poison pouch." Elder Nin took out his nerves, but was worried inside, not knowing if his father had finished harvesting over there. "Not yet, we must hurry back." Afterwards, they together obtained the last part of the monster. Elder Nin asked Loi Thi, "How much money do we have left in our account?" Loi Thi replied, "Maybe about 800,000. Elder Nin ordered her to transfer all to Mantiu-hu. Monsieur looked worried and said, "Old master, you said only 500,000. But Elder Nin still smiled and said, "If not for this time period, my old man has limited healing funds. The triple star skill just now is worth 100,000. When I sell the materials, I will explain the details to you." Monsieur replied, "Then I will respectfully obey. Actually, I also have some research on the remaining 6 solutions of the 7 solutions of reflection. But I see Elder Nin's wound will take more than half a year to recover. Another day we will continue exchanging." Elder Nin asked curiously, "Mantiu-hu, you even know I am injured?" Monsieur said, "Looking at your hand, I think it is poisoned by the Deathgate venom from the Serpent King, corroding even the neural and visual parts, right?" Hearing that, Loi Thi's tears streamed down. She said, "If you have seen the wound, why say it will take more than a year to recover? This is clearly an incurable disease." Monsieur asked curiously, "Incurable disease, Loi?" Ti's eyes sparkled as she asked, "Monsieur, big brother, can you cure my grandfather's wound?" Suddenly, a sparkling stone appeared. The system issued a mission. "Open the first healing mission without time limit. Mission duration 1 month. Mission reward based on the recovery of Ninja's wound totaling 202,000 contribution value." Monsieur thought and said, "I can try, but this unknown serpent venom is very complicated. Perhaps I can only find a few chaotic paths." But even so, Elder Nin smiled happily and replied, "That is not bad. Right now, even doctors do not have a cure." In Elder Nin's heart, he thought Tiu-hu would surely seek help from his master for him. Such kindness. "How can I ever repay this?" Suddenly, he said to Mantiu-hu, "I remember you once said you wanted to open a recovery company. Are you interested in signing a contract to harvest monsters with the Loi Din team?" In Monsieur's heart, he was also thinking that Loi Din, this kind of 5-star superhuman team, just making a small simple machine is enough for us to live. He carefully said to Elder Nin, "Thank you for your kindness, Elder Nin, but the poison pouch of the Long Lang spider cannot be stored long. Other materials also need to be processed. Why don't you handle this side first? Later come to Road 5 Fook to find me, we will talk more." Elder Nin replied, "All right. It also needs to be handled. How about you handle this side first?" "Wait a moment, come to Duong 5 Fook to find me, we will talk more." Elder Nin replied, "All right." Then Monsieur's phone vibrated because he received money. He ran away but still waved goodbye to the two of them, causing Elder Nin to say to Loi Thi, "Loi Thi Mantiu-hu is not simple. If you have the chance, get to know him a bit." Loi Thi replied, "Yes." Monsieur held his phone while running, thinking, "Wait until my father sees the account balance later, he will definitely be shocked." In the factory, a voice rang out, "Lauman 280,000. Witnessing this scene, Monsieur's face was stunned. Judge Vin Fat, the old man, sat on the chair holding a chicken drumstick and said to Man Nghia's son, "Missing one dong Lauman, don't you want to do it anymore?" Man Nghia's son's face showed helplessness as he stared at the object falling on the ground. Monsieur anxiously asked the person beside him, "Uncle Chu, what's going on?" The man replied, "Monsieur, your nephew has arrived." Then he recounted to Monsieur that his father had sought Tom Vin Fat to buy the spiritual brain orb again, despite everyone around trying to stop or advise against it. But Man Nghia's son remained very determined because the item in his hand was the only hope for a Sieur to enter university. Tom Vin Fat angrily shouted, "Lao Man, say something, what exactly do you mean?" He nervously stammered, "Brother Tam, it's not me." But Tom Vin Fat did not listen and kept cursing, "If not you, then is it me?" Tom Vin Fat kept accusing Lao Man, "You mean I dropped it?" "A hung and a bow helped me lie together to oppose you," Monsieur angrily called out, "Ah." He asked Man Eun-gye-sun what exactly happened. Was this really damaged by us? Man Eun-gye-sun replied, this is a foolish debt. In short, it was Dad's carelessness. Then Monsieur sat down to observe and realized that indeed the cause was because Tam Vin Fat had oil on his hands and couldn't hold it firmly. Monsieur angrily said, Director Tam, if you don't clarify who exactly dropped this item, we agree to compensate half according to the rules. Seeing this, Tam Vin Fat pushed for half, at least 100,000 kid. Is that so gentle? He disdainfully stood in front of Man Eun-gye-sun, provoking, Lao Man, you were tempted and wanted to possess the material for yourself, then dropped the item and played the victim without taking responsibility. He slapped Man Eun-gye-sun's face and continued, if these two things get out, don't expect to survive in this circle anymore. Man Eun-gye-sun helplessly shouted, I want to buy it with money. But Tam Vin Fat's face was still arrogant. He continued, then buy it. I've agreed. Sign a secondary contract for 3 years with me at the pawn shop and pack up quickly. He laughed as if victorious. Mua and he continued. He owes me more than 2 years. I'll pay you 100,000 in advance to buy some tonic for your son. Maybe he'll get on the honor roll. His disdainful and arrogant expression made Monsieur extremely angry. He threw the contract far away, his face full of killing intent, saying, don't even dream about it. Tam Vin Fat angrily asked Man Eun-gye-sun, does your son want to cause trouble? Then he ordered his subordinates, drag this brat outside for me. But Man Eun-gye-sun was furious. He rushed forward to block Monsieur and said, don't touch my son. As soon as he finished, he was punched in the face, making Monsieur worriedly call for his father. Then a subordinate rushed at him with a sword, making Monsieur extremely angry. He threw the attacker away and said, get lost, leave me alone. Then others rushed in, but were dealt with by Monsieur one by one. He grabbed their collars and threw them away, causing them pain. Power surrounded Monsieur's body as he thought, Firebug changes 30,000 shockwaves to expert level. Then he kicked up thinking about his past life. Monsieur's face was sullen. You tricked my dad into signing this problematic secondary contract. He went straight to the old man, Tam Vin Fat, who was scared and tried to apologize, but Monsieur slapped him hard, causing blood to flow. Monsieur said, go talk to your ancestors. In Monsieur's mind, this slap is because in the past life you conspired to change the contract. We can't sue you. This slap is because you were selfish in the past life. Taking my dad's insurance money caused him to have no money for treatment. He punched a few times, making old Tam Vin Fat collapse. He intended to finish him off, but was pulled back by Man Eun-gye-sun, who asked, son, do you want to go to jail now? Monsieur calmed down and asked Man Eun-gye-sun, Dad, are you okay? He replied, Dad is definitely fine. But what about you now? People around said to him, Monsieur, you're too agitated. All right, it's easy to throw a punch, but hard to retract it. He was ready to punch old Tam Vin Fat again, but was stopped. Man Eun-gye-sun asked him, Monsieur, what are you doing? Do you want to take his life? Monsieur grumbled and replied, no, that's wrong. I will change. Next time, I definitely will change. Today, let me kick him one more time, the last kick. Next time, I won't kick anymore, I promise. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Stop. It turned out to be Ko Min, the operations manager of the Tai Nguyen Ku Ham Recovery Company. Everyone around called him Manager Ko, and Ho Jia, the big boss of the Tai Nguyen Ku Ham Recovery Company. At the same time, Monsieur appeared with a slightly grimacing, weary face, looking at the people on the other side, thinking to himself, those two have come again. In front of him were people of Ko Min. He thought that the operations manager of the Tai Nguyen Ku Ham Recovery Company was the superior of all the harvesters. Two subordinates immediately bowed low to greet him, Manager Ko. He then paid attention to Tan Ho, who had been standing behind Ko Min all along, pondering about the previous life. This guy and Tam Vin colluded to do bad things and caused many unethical incidents. This guy was the big boss of the company known as the extraordinary person Ha San Ho. Tan Ho had killed countless monsters relentlessly in his calculations when suddenly a loud call came from one of Manager Ko's subordinates. He looked over following the call. On the floor was a broken bottle of unknown liquid, followed by a shout from him, what is this destroying rare material, smashing the company's computer, and even daring to hit people? He and Man Eun-gye-sun were arguing. He just turned his face away, listening to Man Eun-gye-sun's reproach. It was all done by my son, it's a good deed. His face was gaunt with bruises, still arguing back. New general manager, the conflict was between me and Director Tam. Whatever losses, I will bear them. This has nothing to do with my son. Tan Ho listened to their conversation, bowed his head temporarily silent while the chatter of the subordinates buzzed around his ears. It was Director Tam's bodyguard who started the fight. The broken items might not even be caused by him. There's also Thap Siu Pham and the Survival Committee here. Is there no law in Long Tan anymore? It can't be left unpunished. Ko Min felt a ripple inside and cursed silently. Damn Tam Vin Fat, always causing trouble. If he weren't the brother-in-law of Ho Jia, I wouldn't serve him like this. He approached him bent down and said sarcastically, I won't mention other things, but about Director Tom, it really was your son, Manhwa's son, who hit him, right? A young person hitting someone so brutally. If caught, he will be sentenced. A few years in prison, his whole life will be ruined. Manhwa's son, seeing his son being bullied, immediately begged, please don't. He pointed at him, questioning Lao Man. Look at Director Tom's wounds. Your son is committing a crime. You say if he's caught or not? On the contrary, Man Siu showed no fear, even a challenge. He said, if you want to call the police, hurry up and take that Tom guy to the hospital. Go check what level the wound is. He raised his eyebrows. Is there such a stubborn kid? Suddenly came the sound of hurried footsteps and heavy breathing. It was none other than Tan Ho holding a big fat man with a bruised face. Eyes tightly shut, heavy breathing, his eyes serious. Although beaten terribly on the outside, inside, the pain was unbearable, but no internal injury. He checked every organ and bone for wounds, even minor ones, none were found. His eyes gradually opened, but his face was so battered it was hard to see clearly. He seemed annoyed and threw the man far away. The man then rushed to him, brushing past with a warning from Tan Ho. High school students nowadays are getting more and more formidable. Facing him, he was somewhat defiant and straightforward. Therefore, Ho Jia was interested and wanted to fight a high school student like me to help his brother-in-law get revenge. He used an intimidating gaze, looking at him closely. What kind of person do you think Ho Jia is? A little guy. I respect your special Ba Van Kin. You decide how to handle this yourself. Monsieur shrugged. I thought Ho Jia wouldn't care about the rules set by Thap Siu Pham and the Survival Committee anymore and would take action against an ordinary person like me. His eyes became serious and full of calculation. Perhaps he saw the Ba Van Kin in the future was extraordinary. Maybe he knew my inside story and deliberately caused trouble. He pointed at the broken bottle and explained, making everyone stunned. The rare material is now unclear. Both sides will bear half the loss. You make the offer. I will send the money immediately. Remember that Mr. Tom still holds quite a bit of the bonus from my father's harvest team, and now this has happened. We definitely won't work at Koo Ham anymore. Let's take this opportunity to summarize everything at once. Upon hearing this, Ko Min was somewhat dissatisfied, glancing at Tan Ho and catching his eyes full of resentment and rising anger. He shouted, What kind of talk is that? You have beaten someone to this extent. Even if you don't check the wounds, shouldn't you compensate for the medical expenses? You also don't let yourself be at a disadvantage and retort like that. What if my father is injured? Those two bodyguards used ancient martial arts to knock my father away. Who knows if his internal organs are damaged? Manhwa's son, dealing with people, asked back about the ancient martial arts technique, then lifted his shirt to reveal one side of his waist with a large scar, explaining, Even if my father is fine, this wound of mine was caused by them. Tan Ho was initially stunned by the words, but then burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, interesting. Monsieur, scratching his hand, asked Tan Tong, Do you feel something is wrong? Speak up, how do you want to resolve this? Now the situation was reversed. Those two were at a loss and looked at each other. Ko Min pressed his lips and furrowed his brows slightly, replying, Ho-Ra recently on the market. There is the Linghua neural sphere of Kim Yuin. If it is of perfect quality, its value is about 300,000. He arrogantly said, Hey kid, take out 300,000. You can pawn it and get lost. Hearing this, his face became more serious, prompting the other to continue. Of course, temporarily, if you can't get it, it's okay. You can write an IOU. Ho-Ra, no money will be missing. Ban Trong Lat, who was even less capable than you, held out his phone and said indifferently, So many people are watching, I trust Tan Tong. The person to handle this was Ko Min. He turned his face away, but still held out his hand to the manager to receive the money. As soon as the transaction was completed, looking at the account balance, he was surprised. Where did this kid get so much money? As if reading the thoughts of both father and him, he explained, Don't worry, it's all clean money. I'll explain to Dad later. They ran to the man and called a sieur. He pointed behind him, negotiating, Tan Tong 300,000 has been given. This rare material now belongs to me, right? He raised his mouth. It's just a Linghua neural sphere. I don't see much in it. He carefully used a specialized tool to pick up the solution and said to his father, "Dad, help me prepare a part of the silver nitrate solution." When the sphere was dropped into water, tiny tentacles immediately spread all over. Ko-min suddenly stiffened because he realized that the lingua neural sphere was worth 1,000,000. Tan-ho, hearing the price of the neural sphere, became furious and repeated the figure 1,000,000. Monsieur held the box containing the sphere and turned to speak to his father, Dad, actually after harvesting. We also found something inside. I was curious and studied it. He lowered his face and shared thoughtfully. But Dad once taught me that if it's not ours, we shouldn't take it. I guess the manager Ko probably discovered it too, so he gave up on that idea. Hearing Monsieur say that, Tan-ho turned his face and threw a blazing bullet-like glare at Ko-min in anger. Even Vin Fat, standing nearby, glanced over. At this moment, Monsieur was still diligently pursing his lips and continuing to speak. Including the conflict just now between us and Director Tom, I have listened to Dad's advice and proposed to split it half and half. If inside there really is a lingua neural sphere, everyone can earn tens of thousands. This time, Tue-hak turned and threw a bullet-like glare at Vin Fat and also at Ko-min. Monsieur awkwardly scratched his face and continued. But Hojia refused, so I had no choice but to risk bringing it back. Luckily, I accepted it and earned clean money, right? Hearing his son say that, Ngia-san and the two colleagues nearby breathed a sigh of relief. Tan-ho, who had been furious until now, finally spoke up, Monsieur, right. A high school student, very interesting. Ho-ra already remembered. Take your lingua neural sphere away. Monsieur and his father, with their arms around each other happily, were about to hand over the sphere to Tan-ho when a voice interrupted, "Wait." It was Lao Li, leading the 10th Harvest team, speaking up. Monsieur went with his father and uncles and colleagues holding the box containing the orb, happily saying, "Let's go." The father and son, happily putting their arms around each other, were about to give the orb to Tan-ho when a voice spoke up. Wait, it was Lao Li, leading the 10th Harvesting team, speaking. He then asked Ngia-sun and Lao Man, "What are you planning to do next?" Ngia-sun hesitated, not knowing what to say. Lao Li Monsieur quickly intervened to help his father. Dad has found a new place already. Now the investment capital is also available. Next I will prepare to do it myself. Lao Li suddenly made a request. Can we come to work together? At this moment, Monsieur focused on considering originally not wanting to provoke this extraordinary Tan-ho. But if already offended, then what is there to fear? Just a small Tan-ho still wants to block the fate in my hands. Then you replied to Uncle Lee, our side will definitely recover the resources without fail, not to mention one branch of your harvesting team. Even if there are a few more teams, everyone will have work to do. Having money to earn will make life 100 times more comfortable. Old Lee heard this and eagerly responded with gratitude. All right, Tiger, send out my harvesting team. Thank you for your concern and help. Everyone has worked well together, but there is no perfect feast in the world. We will work until the end of this month. Do you think it's okay? The two colleagues behind also hesitated a bit. Both Old Man and Old Lee are going. Is there really enough resources? Seeing his people intending to go to Monsieur Tan-ho angrily frowned and thought to himself, "You bastard, do you want to lure all my people away?" He suddenly charged forward with a fierce wind toward Monsieur and threatened the kid, "It seems you don't know how deep the water here is." You looked at Tan-ho with a blank face, thinking, even if you have guts, you wouldn't dare act in front of so many people. Seeing Monsieur not reacting and just standing there motionless, he pointed his finger at his own face in confusion, irritated by the nerves of this kid. What exactly is he made of? Not even a bit of reaction. Then he's a bit slow, isn't he, from afar? Old Nin and two others were approaching and called out to you. Mantu Hu, we have arrived. Hearing someone dared to intervene, Tan-ho angrily turned around and shouted, "Who is it?" Ko-min and Vin Fat widened their eyes in surprise and exclaimed in unison, "Master Nin, the 100 shots ghost hand Nin Sa Master Nin." Looking at the familiar face of old Nin Tan-ho, immediately recognized Nin Ghost Hand. Suddenly he saw something else and widened his eyes in shock as if seeing a ghost. That was Ngok Bang, deputy captain of the Thunder Squad. Tan-ho recognized him and was extremely shocked. Out of fear, Tan-ho transformed into a little cat. The sparkling-eyed Tan-ho cat licked Ngok Bang's shoe affectionately and asked, "Brother Bang, why are you here already?" Ngok Bang glanced down, recognized the old tiger Tan-ho wagging its tail vigorously, and quickly said, "Little tiger, just call me Little Tiger." In front of you, Brother Bang, how could I dare to act like an old tiger? Last year, luckily, I hunted the 9-heat Golden Eagle Hellbeast with the Thunder Squad, that earth-shattering strike of yours, Brother Bang, really. Listening to him, he spoke so long. Ngok Bang coldly replied, "It's nothing. It was old Nin who said he has a little friend here. I came to see if there's a chance to cooperate with old Nin." Tan Ho then looked at Monsieur, who was very confident, showing the orb to old Nin. Then he turned to look at his two truly useless subordinates and thought to himself, damn it, these two useless guys only know how to cause trouble. At this moment, Tan Ho also guessed who Ngok Bang wanted to cooperate with. Monsieur happily turned to call his father, "Let's go. We and old Nin Captain Tom will find a quiet place to talk." Then suddenly remembering something, he exclaimed, "That's right." Monsieur sat down, peeked into the garage, saw Vin Fat hiding fearfully underneath, and calmly said, "Director Tom, don't be afraid. I am quite polite and only want to take what belongs to me." Vin Fat was so scared that tears streamed down his face, but Monsieur just raised his hand toward him and gently made a request. "Because I wanted to work at 9 heat, you took 10,000 yuan from my father's shopping card. But now I don't want to work at 9 heat anymore. Please return the card to me." Vin Fat was speechless and couldn't believe it. Loi Thi also chuckled, covering his mouth. Tan Ho had transformed into human form and angrily shouted, "Tam Vin Pat! Tam Vin Pat!" Trembling Tam Vin Fat timidly handed over the old Monsieur's father's card. Seeing him so obedient, you quickly snatched it and didn't forget to remind him a few things. Also, there was another matter: the insurance of everyone had always been embezzled by the company. Tomorrow my father and the uncles will go to the company to summarize. Hopefully you will prepare the documents well. Everyone will check each item carefully so that in the future there will be fewer disputes about this matter. These words made the old man turn pale with fear, but Monsieur remained calm and politely spoke, apologizing for troubling the director of the trial and also thanking General Tan. Tan Ho was also troubled by the outrageous actions of the trial director. That Vin provoked Cho to the point of rage, but he could only stand there frustrated, grinding his teeth until Monsieur's group began happily leaving together. He suddenly unleashed the anger he had been holding back, stepped forward, grabbed the old man by the collar, and scolded him harshly. "Damn you, are you even embezzling the employee's insurance?" Even Tom Fat Vin was shaken by this fierce momentum. It made Cho tremble as he tried to excuse himself. "Brother-in-law, please listen to my explanation." But Tan Ho was already fed up with this despicable man. He directly slapped the old man hard, causing sharp pain. At the same time, elsewhere, under the moonlight shining everywhere, Elder Nin, carrying a troubled mood, inquired cautiously with Man Tu Hu. Recently, the Thunder Team had a training camp for young people to kill a large number of monsters and needed someone to collect the harvest, preferably someone with rich experience like you. Hearing this, Monsieur somewhat guessed the intention and directly asked Elder Nin, "At my place there is a refined neural orb, but I still don't know how to use it. Can you help me?" This request surprised Elder Nin, who exclaimed, "Then it's a coincidence." 3 days later, there was a rare material trading event which was considered not low level. The refined neural orb might be sold at a high price. Monsieur Hu was interested and came to join the excitement. Everything happened exactly as Monsieur intended, so he happily confirmed, "I will definitely come." Afterwards, Elder Nin also saw Monsieur and his 3 sons off as they got into the car and left. While going, he pondered deeply. Fat Bear Mangu Quiet of the ordinary city residents usually studying yields 10% and provides 10 contribution points in value, theoretically speaking. Elite city residents like Ninja learn more. Achieving 3 consecutive higher-level stars shouldn't just give 70 points, which is too little. That's right. It must be because Fat Bear is young and has potential. It seems necessary to find some young children and teenagers with promising futures to guide. Thinking of this, he suddenly smiled slyly as an idea struck him. Why not upload Mangu Quiet's name on the network? In his eyes, a few parts of determination flared up. Mixed with astonishment, Monsieur believed that by using the Insect Corp's brain to assassinate key figures in Long City, this was the post-war phase. A tactic commonly used by monsters, and moreover, the Insect Corp's brain of special monsters appearing in the post-war phase can parasitize inside the human brain. It controls the nervous center and muscle reactions. However, what he worried about most was that monsters also have a large number of individuals possessing mind control abilities. But now Monsieur had another worry in his mind once his matter is known by them. They will definitely try every way to capture him. They will extract all memories from his brain. If his secret is exposed, not only he, but also his family, will fall into danger without the power to suppress the other world. At the same time, he needed to find a suitable identity to explain all his strange behaviors, which previously was absolutely impossible. Thinking this, he narrowed his eyes and reminded himself. Later, his father came over to cover him with a thin blanket. Monsieur was startled by this action and called out, "Ah!" Seeing his son seriously calling him, he stayed and asked why. Monsieur directly reassured him, "Dad, don't worry about today. I have accepted a master on the internet who teaches me many skills. My wounds have healed more than half. I plan to enter a formal school. Then you and Mom can relax and enjoy life." Man Ngia's son, hearing his son say this, widened his eyes in shock and asked, "Do you still visit those useless websites?" Monsieur knew he was stubborn, so he pulled his hair and tried to explain. "Dad, how many times have I told you the online science and technology forum is a place of risks and opportunities? Don't worry, I suffered 2 years ago. This time I have already planned ahead." Still, his father had to admit one thing today: his son performed really well, then sighed, "But now I just hope Tan-Ho doesn't take revenge." Understanding his father's worry, he smiled confidently and comforted him. "Don't worry, wait for me to enter the formal school. With the university backing me, would Tan-Ho dare to touch a student of the formal department?" But his father still did not mention this matter, so he hurriedly reached out to pat his head and remind him, "Take advantage of the time to go to sleep. Tomorrow you still have to go to school later. The system will display information about the special citizen of the Bach family. The demoness of the night, the corruption level decreases by 2% contribution value plus 200. You angrily flipped the table and shouted furious that your mother was seriously injured, your father was deceived. These two, Thunder Earth, were both eliminated. The corruption level dropped by only 5%. Little grass. You really are born a demoness, right?" Until early the next morning at school, Monsieur just started to sulk, scratching his head and yawning. At that moment, his classmates came over to gossip. Monsieur hurried home yesterday. "Not joining the study group is really missing out on 500 friends yesterday. The hero taught us the super-level oxhorn. I only practiced twice, but already felt my strength increase. One punch can kill a beast." The whole crazy group reenacted that cool scene that I saw. You didn't see the scene at that time. Everyone was like mad bulls, very violent, then chased each other crazily in the yard, scolding Vuong Dao, "You are the mad bull." "Stand there for me." Monsieur just stood there helplessly stunned. Then he lazily pulled out his usual chair, leaned back, yawning, when outside a classmate hurriedly ran over to inform bad news. "The matter of our study group has reached the homeroom teacher. Now our homeroom teacher, the old king, is talking with the hero about canceling the study group, causing the students to be shocked and exclaim what." Monsieur was also made thoughtful by this sudden news, sitting dazed. His gaze suddenly turned toward the class monitor, Tahao Nien. He slightly curled his lips in a sneer, mentally drawing up a perfect plan, thinking this time, without you shedding some blood, the fat bear won't have to be afraid. Monsieur angrily stood up, slammed the table, and shouted loudly, "Who is so unkind? Crazy person seeing you scold like that?" The classmates in the class also started to join in scolding, that's right. "Who is so unkind to ruin everyone's good thing?" Monsieur said seriously, "Almost everyone in our class has joined the study group. No one would report themselves." Then he pondered thoughtfully and said, "Hung Map is such an honest person. Maybe he won't cause conflict with others even when someone is on all fours losing face." At this point, the classmates couldn't keep calm anymore. They approached to question Tahao Nien, the class monitor, saying, "You are wrong. You and the hero caused conflict. How could you ruin everyone's good thing?" "That's right, class monitor. Does anyone work like you?" "Class monitor, do you feel uncomfortable because someone else has a high score?" His face darkened with unclear emotions, and because of those words, Hao Nien suddenly paused, squinting dangerously, then directly closed the book he was reading and said, Hao Nien fiercely looked straight at him, warning Monsieur not to slander others, but with his innate stubbornness, Monsieur only smiled mockingly and replied, "I didn't point the finger directly. Class monitor, don't admit it before being beaten." These words made him so angry he trembled, clenched his fists, shouted at you. He seemed to realize his actions were excessive and quickly calmed down. Hao Nien's mood returned to normal, reassuring everyone, "Classmates, don't listen to him. I absolutely won't report this to the teacher." The homeroom teacher is cunning, thinking to himself, "I only accidentally told my homeroom teacher." Then still shamelessly affirmed, moreover, in my opinion, canceling this study group is a good thing. The super-level oxhorn of So-Fi Hung is so domineering. He said it might be an evil cultivation method seriously affecting the body, which made the classmates start to have some doubts. looking at each other suspiciously, and this was exactly the purpose of Ta Hao Nien. He opened the book and continued reading calmly, saying, "Now university exams are getting harder. Practicing those evil methods is considered cheating and will cancel achievements. Do you really want to risk it?" He still didn't accept it and stepped forward to question him. "How do you know the hero's super-level oxhorn is an evil method?" Yet this Ta Hao Nien really shamelessly lied and made excuses, saying, "For everyone's safety last night, I eavesdropped and learned that the so-called super-level oxhorn comes from the demon network." Then he began to shift responsibility, putting all attention on him, implying maybe classmate Monsieur also knows clearly. I think maybe Hung accidentally got the account and scan address from Monsieur's place and carelessly went down the wrong path, causing Monsieur to be helpless. The person was amazed at his shamelessness. Indeed, he seemed not to know what shame was. At that moment, the system suddenly displayed information about an ordinary citizen. Wang Longquan was directly pointed out by a friend to have grasped part of the meaning of the Mangu super fierce level with 30% progress in study combat power and teaching ability all upgraded. In the future, students who grow stronger will have the combat power of the entire Long City upgraded. Congratulations on your contribution to civilization contribution value plus 50. Just that information was enough to make him squint and silently think that the old king, the homeroom teacher, must have learned it too. Ta Hao Nien feared that he couldn't climb out. Thinking of this, Monsieur returned to his lazy posture, stretching and compromising, saying, "All right, it's all my fault. If the chubby bear really gets angry and refuses to study in a group later, everyone can just curse me." With the title of the Holy Mouth of Nonsense, how could they believe it? Horrified chatter, has Monsieur really given up? Impossible. In that strange, indescribable atmosphere, Fai Hung came from nowhere, pushed the door open, rushed in without hesitation, and whispered loudly into Monsieur's ear. "The old king is very interested in the Mangnu super fierce level and wants to widely introduce it to the whole class. The materials belong to you. I dare not take charge. How do you feel about that?" After hearing this news, he pretended to be panicked as if he couldn't believe it. Intentionally shouted loudly, "What, has the homeroom teacher really canceled the study group?" But that Ta Hao Nien still tried to reassure them with reasoning everyone don't overthink. Cultivation has no shortcuts, only 4 words, diligence and hard work. Forget about the Mangangu super fierce level or whatever. Let's seize the time and go all out. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Monsieur, like a loudspeaker, blared straight into his heart when revealing that the homeroom teacher really had canceled the secret study group, publicly introducing the Mangu super fierce level in front of the whole class. When he was almost petrified on the spot, not knowing what to do, the old king suddenly pushed the door open and asked the class president what was going on. Making Ta Hao Nien embarrassed, he was flustered and didn't know what to say, but Monsieur was quicker, raising his hand apologetically and taking full responsibility. "Teacher, I was wrong." Not only was the old king shocked and confused, asking what was wrong with him, but he was also left speechless and alarmed by Monsieur's action. Hearing this, Monsieur quickly played his role, explaining everything yesterday. Hung Map agreed with everyone to organize a small group for study, but then regretted it a bit, saying the Mangu super fierce level was too profound. He himself still hadn't fully understood it. Afraid that everyone would go astray, he thought of a way to advise everyone. He thought Hung Map was right, and thus gave a fake notice that the Mangu super fierce level came from the network perception. While the old king was listening attentively, Ta Hao Nien, fearing he would act crazy, kept frowning cautiously. At this point, he sighed deeply, full of thought. He was so immersed that tears were about to flow, choking up as he said, "No, I actually lost from the start last year. I already thought of this." Hung Map was honest and believed my words. It really was just like those classmates said, not knowing who it was. However, Monsieur became more and more enthusiastic as he spoke. In front of everyone, he seemed to scold Ta Hao Nien as a miserable turtle smashed into 100 pieces, eating human food but not defecating, with scars on his head, wearing a hat and a few widows. Taking off his clothes and revealing secrets outside the old king was also stunned by these profound words of his, so he gently reminded Monsieur to pay attention to his qualities. Hearing that, he still obediently took all responsibility, apologizing, "I really was at fault for saying such rude words." Everyone knew that normally he was very elegant and polite, so seeing Monsieur feel remorseful like this, the old king did not intend to pursue it further and agreed, "All right then." Then he directly announced that the Mangu super fierce level had been reviewed by the teacher. It is absolutely the authentic foundational cultivation method. Under the teacher's guidance, everyone can rest assured and strive to cultivate making those around happy and excited. In that joyful moment, Monsieur once again scored points with his quick mouth, outpacing his brain, suggesting, "Teacher at school, each class president is allocated cultivation resources beyond the standard limit." Used to compensate for the time and effort that the class monitor manages the class, if Fat Hung wants to point out cultivation to everyone, it means taking on the class monitor's responsibilities. The class monitor will definitely agree to share half of the cultivation resources with Fat Hung, right? Faced with this unexpected proposal, the old king was embarrassed and responded, then turned to ask Wang Dao, "Is that right?" But he only pondered without answering, so he continued to ask others nearby for their opinions, then saw her cheek slightly blush as she confessed. The class monitor is not a stingy person. Upon hearing the desired answer, Monsieur began to shout loudly, looking at the class monitor's figure. In everyone's eyes, he was very great. These exaggerated words seemed to corner Hao Nian, forcing him to agree. He angrily slammed the table. Standing up, he declared clearly, "Teacher Vuong, as long as it benefits everyone in the class, I absolutely do not resent it." Monsieur, satisfied, whistled softly at Fi Hung, reminding Hung Mok, "Aren't you going to quickly thank the class monitor?" This made him confused and exclaim, "Ah!" Hao Nian still appeared calm, cheerful, and enthusiastic, replying, "Classmate, this is something you should have, no need to be polite." But inside, he was furious, silently cursing Monsieur, this devil. "My resources are not easy to obtain, yet you just let him take away half of them." Meanwhile, the old king also directly reminded all the students in the class, "Those who want to enter the legendary regular school, listen carefully. There are 3 gates you need to pass." First, he began to introduce the first gate. The preliminary round tests the power limit in school, running 100 meters and martial arts. This year, our school only has 150 promotion nominations. If you pass this gate, you will proceed to the second gate, the second round held at the Education Bureau using a fictional superintelligence system to test the mental strength of the candidates. Notably, the most exciting is the third gate, the actual combat test, which is also the university entrance exam requiring going to the border area of the city approaching dense fog. The real battlefield. Additionally, the old king seriously advised them to carefully decide because the extraordinary path is a life-and-death path, extremely honorable, and also extremely dangerous. If you are not an outstanding person with innate talent, I advise you to give up that thought and focus on specialized exams. At that moment, suddenly, a student could not help but raise his hand and said, "That's not fair. Running 100 meters poorly doesn't mean I have to go to actual combat." This sudden outburst made the old king narrow his eyes in surprise. He suddenly paused like that. The anger inside him seemed to fully erupt. He slammed the table coldly and questioned fairness. This world has never been fair. Then the old king sarcastically asked back the immature-thinking student, "When Long City traveled through time, it had to face the invasion of zombies and monsters. Are we supposed to be fair to zombies? You extraordinary people were born from high-risk situations, possessing various privileges, but these things did not fall from the sky. They had to be taken by fists, swords even snatched from the mouths of demons and monsters." Finally, he concluded firmly, "This is the greatest fairness." Monsieur's hands clenched tighter, his whole body trembling because of it. Not stopping there. The old king mysteriously revealed more, telling them that the number of deaths and injuries of candidates in this year's university exam has doubled compared to last year. Moreover, the deceased and injured candidates this year receive benefits from the sacrifices and disabilities of soldiers. Monsieur still did not speak. He silently focused, thinking that he must have discovered something. The war with monsters is about to upgrade. This is accelerating the training of super-level soldiers. The old king quickly tidied the books on the table and thoughtfully reminded, "This exam is a real war, so students without fighting ability, I do not recommend you take the exam for the regular specialized school." Before leaving, he did not forget to remind his students, "All right, let's see your actual strength. Without the speed of a short-distance champion in the Earth era and the power of the Fist King, you will not pass the school test. Then there's no need to think too much." Monsieur still didn't move because perhaps he was lost in his chaotic thoughts. In a flash, that important day arrived. Everyone began gathering at the racetrack before the exam, and the elder king kept encouraging his students. "You all shouldn't be so downhearted. Here's some good news. Just by passing the Resource Training School's test provided to each candidate applying to the regular department, the resources will double compared to last year. Your swordsmanship and fists will expand the survival space for Long Tan to glorify its reputation, making everyone more determined to move forward. After encouraging them, he clapped his hands and solemnly announced the dismissal to start the test. While Monsieur and Fai Hung were still sluggish and tired, a friend was warming up and complaining, "Ouch, the monster rampaged all night yesterday. Basically, I didn't get enough sleep. Today, I definitely won't be able to show much strength." Other friends heard this and argued enthusiastically, "I'm the really pitiful one. I sprained my ankle yesterday. Today, I can only limp. I'm afraid running 100 meters in 10 seconds is impossible." The first friend couldn't stand it and nagged, "Please, all of you, just act like humans." Each one was a top student and class genius, but pretended to be sick. Is that really necessary? Immediately after, the one who just nagged achieved a result of 223.3 kilograms with just one punch. The stubborn guy couldn't hold back his frustration and scolded, "This result probably ranks top 5 in the whole class. Not getting enough sleep, truly a despicable, rotten scoundrel." Next, he amazed everyone when a person who complained about a sore leg ran with a result of 9.57 seconds at a speed of 40 kilometers per h. Running 100 meters in 9.57 seconds breaks the world's short-distance record. Limping. That guy must buy the whole class bubble tea. Watching the girls tirelessly training with sweat-dripping, Monsieur slightly curled his lips, thinking, "This is youth." Shortly after, the atmosphere heated up like never before, when a new record of 233.3 kilograms appeared before this feat. He couldn't hide his amazement and gave a thumbs up to Fai Hung, the heroic limit power king at 107.6 kilograms, who had just set a new class record, the power king of the world era. But that was all there was to it. Unexpectedly receiving this recognition made him blush with joy and smile shyly. The Elder King looked at the performance board in his hand, full of thoughts. The students participating in the small study group. Their achievements increased significantly in all aspects. This Super Bowl seemed not simple at all. Monsieur also watched Fai Hung, scratching his head and smiling foolishly in a corner. Yet at this moment, that Hao Nian suddenly appeared from nowhere, smirking and mocking the trash of his family. Not stopping there, he continuously awakened Monsieur to reduce his illusions. Even if Fai Hung broke the record to enter the regular school and become a superhuman, so what? He is who he is. You are who you are. You will never rise to the sky. You will forever be trash. These irritating words made Monsieur powerless and speechless. Thinking about the trash talk from the class president this time, Monsieur couldn't endure it anymore and directly issued a challenge. "Da Hao Nian, I want to duel with you." He arrogantly looked at him. Agreed. Monsieur was resolute, thinking that in his past life he lost his mind because of the trash talk from him. Although his body was not fully recovered, he still took action against him. As a result, he was secretly injured by him during the duel, which flared up during the university entrance exam, causing him to fail. But heaven has eyes and gave him a chance to start over, making him smirk coldly and sarcastically. "What about this life?" While Monsieur currently held the supreme power voice recorder pen, even though everyone around was still making noise while actively training. Just in time, the voice recorder pen Monsieur kept in his shirt recorded every word of the hateful guy's insults. "Just relying on you and still wanting to enter the regular school, next life, go away, trash." After setting the record, Fai Hung happily ran to show his best friend. "Monsieur, I broke the record." That hateful Hao Nian pretended to be calm in front of everyone, patted him on the shoulder, encouraging him as if they were very close friends, not just classmates like Monsieur. "It's your turn. Keep going. We all support you. You can't help but dislike Monsieur." He stood up quickly, warmed up briefly, then calmly asked, "Is it my turn now?" Hao Nian also started clapping and calling everyone, "Come on, classmates. Monsieur will be tested on the 100m run. Everyone please cheer for him." Hearing that the classmates around enthusiastically joined in clapping and encouraging Monsieur. "Keep it up, strive hard, you will definitely pass the university entrance exam, we all support you. Don't embarrass our class." Faced with his series of implied remarks, you couldn't help but squint and secretly mock Hao Nian. You really are a restless spirit. So going with the flow, Monsieur would act according to his thoughts. He then pretended to be sorrowful, complaining, "Guys, don't be noisy anymore. Tonight I fought some monsters in the residential area. Until now I'm still very weak. My whole body's strength is only about 50%. In a very bad state, Vuong Dao seemed sincere and shouted loudly, promising Monsieur, "If you work hard now, there's still time. I will teach you the super-level Mongu fist this afternoon." Hao Nian, though very pleased inside, still smiled kindly on the outside and comforted, "Don't worry, classmates, all know your situation, Monsieur. The most important thing is to conquer yourself." Don't think about competing with others, just beating yourself is already good. As soon as he finished speaking, you still stayed in character, looking sad, and replied, "My body is too weak, really not good at Mangnengo fist." Pausing a bit, Monsieur then began to continue. "But in the past year, I've been using Ba Van fist to heal injuries, so let me try." Then he bent down into a ready stance and quickly used a super technique. His Ba Van fist move made Hao Nian, who had always underestimated his ability, widen his eyes in surprise. "This is Monsieur." Also, this confused look from him made you straighten up and remind the class leader, "Step aside, I'm starting now." After saying that, you began to use your superior speed, dashing like a storm and jumping swiftly, making Hao Nian's face look extremely ugly. However, you didn't care about him and rushed toward the finish line. This time, Monsieur shocked everyone with a record time of 8.57 seconds speed, 90 kilometers per h. Yet, when seeing the result lines saved on the system board, you started to act again, holding your head and blaming yourself. "Damn it, I'm still too weak, only 1 second faster than before. Still not in our top 3. What right do I have to take the official school exam?" The reason Monsieur acted like this was because he thought he shouldn't be arrogant and just show a bit was enough. But this statement made Hao Nian and some other guys dizzy because the achievement was clearly high. And what was he complaining about? Fai Hung still acted dumb and asked why. Then he hesitated and said, "Your speed, Monsieur," continuing the roll. Sighing heavily, acting distressed, he said, "I know I'm quite slow and I'm very troubled. You are exaggerating too much." To the point that Fai Hung, his close friend, couldn't stand it and exclaimed, "What to do now? It's so painful. I really want to beat that fake dumb guy to death." Old Vuong, knowing the results, quickly ran over and asked, "Classmate Monsieur, has your injury fully healed?" Hearing that, you unconsciously rubbed your arm and replied honestly, "Not completely recovered yet, but in the past year I've trained hard with Ba Van Fist and found some unique methods. It can be said that in misfortune there is fortune. With the merchant blood in you, Monsieur suddenly had an idea and enthusiastically advertised, 'If classmates need, I can also exchange skills with everyone. Just need some medicine or direct discounts, I'm very comfortable.' Before your talent and proposal, Vuong Dao pondered, wondering if this was to bring the whole class to a new level. Fai Hung suddenly thought or asked, 'Your punching power limit probably won't surpass running 100 m, right?' Monsieur habitually modestly replied, 'Do you think I'm a monster? My punching power is really weaker than normal.' Afraid his answer was not convincing enough, Monsieur added, 'Last night, helping my dad deal with monsters, my arm almost couldn't lift anymore. This test is just to try my best.' The classmates around also enthusiastically discussed that with Monsieur's abnormal speed, even if his punching power was only 90 kilograms, they hoped he could pass this school test. It's hard to say. Remember, last time his punching power test was about 78 kilograms. Ba Van Fist is also very suitable, let alone testing martial skills. After finishing the warm-up, he decisively stepped forward and threw a punch as soon as his hand touched the power measuring device, continuing to punch until he slowly withdrew his hand back. The final number recorded on the system was 218 kilograms, and the students around were also shocked by his achievement, trembling and excitedly discussing it. "Isn't Monsieur a human?" He didn't say a word and recovered so quickly. "Can't he give us a little time to prepare mentally? It's really scary. I even thought Ngo Hak Ba and Trio Hak Than were the top fools in our class. Today I learned that there are mountains higher than mountains. Last year's top student has returned." As for Monsieur himself, after seeing the result on the system, he suddenly became thoughtful, realizing the limit of his punching power could only reach the level of the Taishan boxing king. In this era on Earth, it really is weak. And more surprisingly, he used an innocent, helpless expression to ask, "Hung Map, I'm not lying to you, right? I really don't have a talent for the Mangngu fist. Using a 3-wen punch, the punch came out so weak. No strength at all, making him also helpless and not knowing how to respond." Fai Hung, like a furious beast, raised his hand and asked for permission to report to Teacher Vuong. "May I invite the teacher outside for 5 minutes? I want to fight Monsieur and the other students, like finding a soulmate, unanimously express their feelings. We also want to fight Monsieur, beat that fool to death." But he just stood there, confused, watching them curse him. Fai Hung led a group of classmates laughing as if they were about to tear Monsieur apart, making him suddenly plead, "Please spare me. Don't come over here. I'll treat you to bubble tea, okay?" After hearing his invitation, they finally stopped. Their eyes full of interest, they asked again about the bubble tea. Old Vuong was also helpless, holding his head to help him out. "After school, I will treat you to bubble tea. Everyone knows about Monsieur's family situation, so please don't bother him anymore. This scene made him quite surprised, but he still tactfully declined Teacher Vuong. "Let me treat you. Yesterday, my dad and I went to harvest monster beasts and earned some money, so bubble tea is no problem." It didn't stop there. Monsieur hesitated for a moment, then squinted and said seriously, but next he didn't hold back and directly slapped the class president's face while accusing him. "That guy has insulted me many times. Today I really can't stand it anymore. Let's end this matter." Monsieur, full of grievance, clasped his hands with tears in his eyes like a kindergarten student accusing, "Teacher Vuong, you have to help me uphold justice. The class president, he cursed me." His face, full of grievance and sobbing pleas, made everyone confused and bewildered. As soon as Monsieur finished speaking, old Vuong suddenly frowned and thought to himself, "The class president cursed you and you filed a complaint. Do you think this is a kindergarten?" But he stubbornly asked Monsieur if there was any misunderstanding. Not to that extent. Seeing him accuse him, Hao Nian remained calm and composed, pushing up his glasses and explaining, "Monsieur, I was just encouraging you to keep trying." His tone was at most a bit stern only because he wanted the best for you. Hearing that Monsieur, upset, took out the recording pen he had used earlier and played it back as if he had no other choice. They only heard the class president's harsh voice saying, "You are forever a piece of trash relying on others, and you still want to enter the regular school. In your next life, go be a useless thing." Old Vuong and the classmates turned pale after hearing this. They couldn't believe such words could come from a gentle class president. Even Ko Puang, who secretly admired him, was both disappointed and confused, wondering how the class president could be such a person. Although this was solid evidence, he still asked Monsieur about the recording pen. But before he could answer, Han Hien quickly accused him, "You framed me who carries a recording pen with them. You were preparing to frame me, weren't you?" He was so angry he couldn't think straight. Monsieur couldn't help but curl his lips. They curved into a smile and then returned to their original weak, tearful expression, revealing that he had been cursed like dog blood dozens of times, so many he couldn't even remember. "Since 10th grade, I have beaten him, but he has always held a grudge. When I entered 11th grade injured, he often secretly cursed me, Monsieur," crying while emphasizing that he himself has been cursed to a much worse degree than today. Haoran was also stunned by his words to the point of disbelief. Thinking silently, in the past 2 years at most, I only mocked a little. When did I ever curse him? Even if it was 10 times worse, although I know his words have some exaggeration. But he could do nothing but awkwardly explain. His classmates spat blood and cursed him, but he never expected this 1,000 times over. Monsieur became more passionate as he acted, saying, "I found a cultivation method online with extremely high-risk Makai Ba Van Kin because I am a passionate young man. Even if I die, I must stand up and face the class monitor honorably." He added several more devastating sentences like, "I dare not tell the teacher nor anyone else because I fear being useless, fear that the cultivation method will fail and I will fall into the abyss." However, the most profound was still the sentence, "I fear Ta Hao Nian will curse me forever as a piece of trash," which left him completely speechless. Both Fai Hung and Vuong Dao looked at him with bullet-like meaningful eyes, truly unfair indeed. And surprisingly, Monsieur suddenly crushed the voice recorder pen in his hand and fiercely declared, "I know the class monitor did not clearly state his identity in this recorder. But the class monitor's uncle is the supervising teacher. Just based on this recorder, justice cannot be restored to me, and I don't even bother using such methods to claim justice." Fai Hung was also confused by his decisive action, wondering, is that important evidence? Is it going to be destroyed just like that? Monsieur fiercely threw the broken pieces of the recorder pen at him and directly asked Ta Hao Nian, "Do you dare to accept my challenge?" Seeing him so angry, he quickly dodged the fragments. Once sober, he suddenly widened his eyes in surprise and asked, "Do you want to be class monitor?" He calmly looked straight into his eyes and replied, "Whether I become class monitor or not is not important, but whether you become class monitor or not is very important to me." Lao Vuong feared he would act recklessly, so he hurriedly stopped Monsieur's classmate, but he only smiled gently to reassure Teacher Vuong. "Don't worry, next week is the first of 3 official subject tests. You and Ta Hao Nian will use the combined results to rank each other. This does not violate school rules, right?" If he disagreed now, it would be as if all his loyalty was lost, so he chose to agree. "I accept your challenge." Lao Vuong no longer interfered in this personal feud, but quietly reminded everyone to study on their own before the class monitor spoke to him briefly as Ta Hao Nian brushed past him. He still smiled coldly, warning Monsieur's classmate, Don't say I'm bullying you. You have 1 week. Practice your spear techniques well. After reminding his opponent, he finally left with Lao Vuong. The classmates, upon learning how much hardship he endured, felt indignant and sympathized with Monsieur. They did not expect he had suffered so much injustice. The class monitor is truly cunning. Monsieur, are you crazy wanting to challenge the class monitor even though you barely surpassed him in 2 subjects? How should you handle the shooting results? Ko Puong also worried about his future and anxiously warned Tahao Nien that he was a member of the elite shooting club and went to practice shooting every weekend. Monsieur's classmate said, "This time you're reckless." However, contrary to everyone's panic and urgency, he smiled, scratched his head, and reassured everyone, "No need to worry, my spear technique is quite formidable." If one word could describe it, the more he spoke, the more the corners of his mouth curled up. A long hand reached out to stop him. As if trying to grab Ko Puong, she fearfully struggled to avoid and shouted, "Don't come here!" Ko Puong's words and fearful attitude made Monsieur dumbfounded and confused. He explained, "I just want to help you adjust your muscles." Truly kindness misplaced. Moreover, Fai Hung ran over excitedly and said, "Monsieur, help me adjust too." But he didn't even bother to pay attention and harshly scolded, "Get lost, this afternoon is self-study, so let's share our cultivation failures together." Monsieur looked at the notebook in his hand full of thoughts. Truly kindness misplaced. Moreover, Fai Hung ran over excitedly saying, "Monsieur, help me adjust it." But he didn't even bother harshly scolding, "Get lost." This afternoon, there is self-study time to share the failure of Ba Van Kin's training. Monsieur looked at the notebook in his hand full of thoughts. Silently thinking, really. Comparing the narrow-mindedness of a petty person with a gentleman adjusting muscles is like waves. Naturally, you have to touch every muscle. Thinking of this, he suddenly felt discouraged and sighed. But then he reassured himself, "No, I must find a new path to contribute more. Otherwise, next week's checkup won't even heal the old wounds of my body." He kept pondering quietly in class. After a while, Fai Hung suddenly came over and asked what Monsieur was doing, then saw Monsieur patting his shoulder, suggesting to wait a bit and go with him to talk to him, and although he didn't understand, he honestly agreed. After class, he went to him and discussed. Fai Hung later, you go find Hiem Madao to ask him to point out the super-level Mangu Kin, and this sudden proposal from him made Fai Hung quite surprised and confused. In the end, he couldn't help but ask why Hiem Madao doesn't teach our class, but instead asks him to point it out. Wouldn't that be exposed? Hearing that Monsieur didn't hide anything, but directly explained to him the benefits, first Hiem Madao comes from the military side. If you find him and interact with the super-level Mangu Kin, he will definitely have a different perspective than you. The future path in the military will also be easier. Then he added more reasons for this action. To be fully convincing, second, I am preparing to find an opportunity to eliminate Tahao Nien, so I need to find a backer who can use tricks with the instructor based on the information just obtained. Monsieur made Fai Hung so horrified that he gaped and shouted loudly, "What?" But very quickly after that, he quickly ran to seal his mouth and reminded him not to shout, "Listen to me first." Finally, after careful consideration, Monsieur seriously talked about his plan. The matter of our class can no longer be hidden. Instead of letting them come and steal, let's be generous and make a good impression on Hiem Madao and the principal. Conveniently gain some benefits here. Fai Hung also somewhat understood his intention, but he still had some doubts. Then you and I will go find Hiem Madao. By then you will definitely be admitted to the military school. Right. But he didn't hesitate at all and directly refused. Military school is too strict, not suitable for me. Moreover, Hiem Madao takes the tough path. Teaching you super-level Mangu Kin is quite suitable. I want to find a very powerful master of Ba Van Kin, this guy Fai Hung. His eyes suddenly lit up like headlights, suggesting, "Then why don't you go find the Ba Van Princess Yen Phi Nu? She specializes in guiding young people to enter Ba Van Kin, absolutely more powerful than both Master Vuong and Hiem Madao." And coincidentally, Monsieur felt this idea was not bad, smiling secretly in approval. That's right, Ba Van Kin in the future is cultivated by the Ba Van Queen Yen Phi Nu, who had to overcome thousands of trials. She is still very inexperienced now and needs someone kind to guide her. Fai Hung saw Monsieur's smirk and couldn't stand it, speaking out, "Monsieur, why are you laughing so meanly?" But he suddenly turned to ask Fai Hung, "Aren't you focused on cultivating super-level Mangu Kin following the strong path, and you say anyone cultivating Ba Van Kin is effeminate? How do you know the Ba Van princess so well?" Then he just saw his face smile with a red face implying you understand. At this time in the live stream room, Fi Nu was smiling brightly and adorably saying, "Next, I will help everyone. Show a bit of our Yen family Bavan, absolutely don't blink." Then they saw a guy carrying a bucket of water approaching, reporting, "I have prepared everything." But not only him, many others also followed with buckets of water. Standing around her in a circle, then they heard her shout loudly, "All right!" As soon as they received her signal, they quickly threw the buckets of water in their hands toward her. Like that, Fi Nu stood still there, enduring all the pressure from the water pouring from 4 directions. But just when the drops seemed to have all hit her, a strong energy seemed to radiate from inside her, so powerful that Fi Nu could completely handle the situation, creating a shield to protect her whole body. After finishing, her eyes shone brightly like stars suddenly opening. As long as she waved her hand, the water droplets would shoot back. And she was unharmed. This performance made the whole room explode, but she calmly declared, "Next, I will personally demonstrate cultivating Bavan Kin." Everyone paid attention. Monsieur also sat thoughtfully watching every word she said. The biggest feature of our Yen family Bavan is a different breathing method. But the more you listen, the more you have to admit that Yen Fi Nu is still very inexperienced now, yet you still pressed your face close to the phone to look more clearly, but still had to disappointingly admit, but the phone is too small to see the details just mentioned. Then Monsieur suddenly realized that's right. You can open it on the TV to watch. Then Cam Kui opened it to watch first on the TV screen. Fi Yen-hu was still guiding everyone on how to breathe. Everyone pay attention when watching me breathe deeply. Both chest and belly were shaking. Luckily, Longtan's TV is all HD. Otherwise, it really wouldn't be clear. Monsieur also watched attentively, but whenever he looked a little longer, he felt, There are some flaws here and there as well. Coincidentally, after that, your mother saw you just pressing your face against the TV in some not very innocent scenes. Fortunately, your little sister quickly closed the door and suggested that mother come in later, making her confused and wondering, but because she was too curious, you still followed to inquire. Mother Tu Tao. Everyone has opened the door and closed it again for what Jia Tao seemed unable to believe her ears, confusedly asking if brothers and mother could come in. Why then was Monsieur scolding pointlessly? What kind of expression are you making? Seeing the girl's flushed face, you suddenly felt confused, thinking what was wrong with Tu Tao. Why is it so strange? Then you suggested the two stay in the living room. You go back to your room first, but just as Jia Tao had just spoken, asking, huh? But this. Then when seeing the content being broadcast, she was so shocked that she couldn't bear it and wondered confusedly if she really didn't have to pay to watch this. During Fi Nu's live broadcast, Monsieur ultimately left comments with suggestions to avoid her noticing, so he chose to appear on the channel, chatting with the identity of the Fire Transmission Elder, then having lively conversations with a hardcore fan. This breathing method clearly has problems. The core point of breathing many times, all have space to adjust Fan Kung. Last week, I met a 3-headed venomous snake known to be hard to kill, all relying on the Bavan Yen Thi to kill it. Bavan Yen Thi is forever the God Fire Transmission Elder. If you encounter one with red patterned flowers on its head, it's best to run directly because relying on this Bavan Keen trio, Fan Kung again sided with her and retorted. After the pointing out by the senior sister, my speed of family boxing increased by 5%. The power of the fist also increased by 7%. Bavan Yen Thi is forever the God. Monsieur used the name Fire Transmission. The elder also retorted, "You're amazing, but I feel this achievement still has great room for improvement. If interested, send a private message." Today I am in a good mood, free of charge, to give some pointers to the junior, and coincidentally, Fi Nu also timely read those comments below the chat box. Everyone was continuously discussing enthusiastically about the viewpoints Monsieur raised. Who is the little brother of the princess, the hardcore fan of the Fire Transmission Elder? Seems to be a powerful master in the Bavan world, probably from the martial arts school of Longtan Military Academy. Fan Kung, real name unknown, hiding his identity, not wanting others to see. Flying bear in the sky, Fan Kung, this kind of fake god and devil wants to get on hot search. Why bother caring about him? Monsieur calmly responded to these people. Fire Transmission Elder fan just replied, "Everyone don't misunderstand. I am not hiding my identity nor aiming at the Bavan family. Yen Thi also has no evil intentions. I just simply want to contribute a little to this society, to upgrade the combat power of the entire city population only." But after a fierce debate, you still felt it was better to send a private message to talk. These people really understand nothing. But Yen Fi Nu's daily pending messages are definitely not few. How can I get her attention? Although this made you a bit sad very soon after. Monsieur suddenly came up with a good idea. Then he directly spent money to give her a rare item, making Fai Nu surprised and grateful. Thanks to the Fire Transmission Elder's spaceship, this action also directly sparked endless discussions in the chat channel. The little brother of the princess, the hardcore fan, rich people nowadays all play big like this. Want to leave an impression in the goddess's heart. A hardcore fan with money really knows how to play just as predicted material determines consciousness. She slightly paused for a moment. A face full of deep thought, but still without a trace of joy, then just saw her bowing sincerely to express thanks for the encouragement from the Fire Transmission Elder. The 3 literary skills of Fai Nu still have many unfinished areas, hoping to research together with everyone to improve along with an unfortunate factor. Having received a gag order during the live stream, could only watch her through the phone screen without being able to express feelings anymore, and the unfortunate character cried without tears. Sitting sadly in a corner was Fai Hung, suffering and complaining that from Earth to other worlds having money really means having everything. Jia Thao was also made itchy and confused by this scene, secretly thinking that her brother is usually so stingy and frugal. He spent another 10,000 yuan to give a gift to this sister. It seemed something was even more wrong. She knew very well that 10,000 yuan was enough for the household to use for 3 months, so she had to clarify what her brother was suffering from. Then she pressed her ear close to the door to listen to the situation inside. As soon as she slightly opened the door and stuck her head in, she saw Monsieur holding a piece of raw meat in his hand. He was so startled that he almost shouted loudly, then only saw him squeezing the meat tightly in his hand with a very strange expression, and Jia Thao saw this scene through the door. Her heart became even more worried and uneasy, thinking, "Oh no, my brother must be... I have to tell Mom so Dad can talk properly with him." But even scarier was, she saw her own brother looking at the meat in his hand, muttering and smiling strangely. After a while, she would bring out all the meaning of the 3 literary skills. In the future, write it down, then record a clip of the 3 literary skills crushing the pork. The princess of the 3 literary skills contribution value, I will clear the Fai Nu side. After finishing the live stream, I started receiving good news from friends. The popularity value increased by 15%. Fai Nu, you are getting more and more sought after. Even Professor Vuong's online teaching is not as good as yours now. Hearing that, Fai Nu just smiled modestly and replied, "No way to compare. Professor Vuong's thunderclap is about magical power that ordinary people don't understand." Of course, few people attend it. After a while of pleasant chatting, it was finally time to say goodbye. Fai Nu, don't forget, tonight is the grand meeting of the Martial Arts Research Association. They invited us to have dinner. I heard you have friends in society. You must go there. She also smiled happily and said goodbye. Everyone go there first and tell the chairman. I'll go back to the studio to pack up a bit. When finished, I'll return alone. Suddenly, she unexpectedly received a message from the Fire Transmission Elder. Fai Nu patiently read the content inside, but shortly after felt a bit annoyed because she thought, these people think that whenever there's a little change, they alter the 3 literary skills of the Yen family. I've had enough of this. Considering the 10,000 yuan bonus for you 30 seconds after going live, the formula for the magical power of the 3 literary skills has long been known by others. Indeed, speaking arrogantly, but shortly after receiving the reply, Fai Nu almost completely changed her perspective. What was written here was also somewhat interesting. Then her expression turned to astonishment and bewilderment, almost falling back, wondering how this could be. Her face was full of thoughtful mood, holding the phone as if immersed in endless thoughts. Only after a while did Fai Nu slowly open her eyes, sighed deeply with emotion, then quickly took out her phone to seek help from senior brother Tria. Please help me tell the chairman that I might not be able to come tonight. There is an urgent matter that needs to be resolved. Senior brother, you better come along. I have something I want to show you. She just stood there waiting until a greeting sounded from behind Junior's sister. He was really a bit puzzled. Not understanding what was going on, what exactly was the matter, Fai Nu then raised her phone to show him. Senior brother looked carefully after thorough examination. Indeed, senior brother Tria was also amazed and praised the reasoning process of this formula as quite secretive, but the path was also very strange. He pointed out several flaws in the 3 literary skills. It seemed it really existed. Then he hurriedly inquired who sent it. But she did not answer immediately, only calmly replied, "There is also a clip below, take a look." In the video, one could see Monsieur wearing a cat hat on his head, holding a piece of raw meat in one hand and a piece of tofu in the other. Yet in just a moment, the meat had melted away. To the extent that senior brother Trieu also had to marvel and exclaim at the control power of this expert, it was truly terrifying to crush the pork in half a minute. However, in contrast, the intact image of the entity made him think the piece of tofu in the other hand was almost unharmed, as if he had professionally mastered the three-element palm technique. That made Phi Nu even more worried when realizing the most terrifying thing was his method of fusion combining at least 7 to 8 elite families of the three-element palm which had never been seen before. Senior brother Tria really had some doubts and asked the junior sister what purpose the opponent had in telling her such a marvelous secret technique and what benefits they wanted to exchange. Hearing that, Phi Nu became even more confused and honestly replied that she did not know. He only requested that the Yen family absolutely not hide it and widely promote this new version of the three-element palm. To revive Long City and contribute some strength, but even so, regardless of the purpose, senior brother Trieu had to sternly remind the junior sister that this matter was very important and needed to be reported to the master, so she quickly agreed, After the agreement was settled, a doubt suddenly arose in her heart, wondering what kind of extraordinary person the fire transmission elder really was. That night, Mansu and his father stood talking for a long time on the balcony. Father Man looked at him for a long time, full of pride, and said, "Ah, Sieu, you have truly grown up. You can now be the pillar of our family." The reason he said that was because just now your mother whispered to him that little Tao had told her. She felt that as a father you must make Ah Sieu understand this mission clearly. Only you can complete it. So now he conveyed it to you, Ah Sieu. Before dinner, your sister told your mother, then your mother told your father a little about it, and then Father Man carefully spoke up. I'll just say a few words. You don't have to like hearing it and don't be angry, but Monsieur just smiled calmly and replied, Go ahead, Dad. Yet even though he agreed, his father just stared at him. Without saying a word, making Monsieur even more confused, his face twisted with worry as well, so the atmosphere suddenly became awkward and strangely uncomfortable. He kept avoiding his gaze, finally pulling out a cigarette, lighting it, sighing and saying, Dad will be brief. He sighed softly and went straight to the point. You are about to enter the university entrance exam. You must put all your spirit into training. After the exam, if you like any girl, then you can invite her home to hang out. Dad will support you. He didn't stop there, but added, one more thing, the environment in Long City is very bad. You must pay attention to personal safety and hygiene. After hearing that, Monsieur also felt itchy inside and was about to explain to him. But he had already slipped away like the wind, as if he feared Monsieur would make a fuss in protest. The more he thought, the darker his expression became, confused, wondering what that little black witch Tao had told his mother. What exactly did she say? Shortly after the system announced that indeed the elite citizen Yen Phi Nu had gained enlightenment on the three-element palm with a contribution value of 99. Elite citizen Yen Phi Nu was shocked by the three-element palm you were spreading. More and more ordinary citizens began to learn. The entire new three-element palm had been enlightened at different levels. Only now could he be so happy he cried and exclaimed, Finally, I have found the most accurate way to ignite the fire. He stood there dazed thoughtfully, considering that now he could not somehow explain the origin of the high technique and martial way in the future, but also understand half of it. He must think of a way to create the image of an unparalleled, mysterious, and unpredictable master. Pouring everything onto the mysterious master's head could explain it reasonably. He had to seize time to build the image of the fire transmission elder, or he would not be respected. Many words spoken would not be believed, and his parents stood right behind him without his knowledge. Then he didn't know anything and went straight into his room. Slamming the door shut made his parents even more convinced that he was acting like a lovesick young man locking himself in his room. This is youth, while Monsieur still had no idea and was busy pondering how to build the image for the fire transmission elder. Shortly after, he suddenly came up with an interesting and cool idea, which was a bizarre personality, but insanely cultivates with super strong power. Then he frantically typed to reply. This 7th stage 100 Battle Dao magic set of yours is also somewhat decent. But there are still 3 places with mistakes, 4 defects, and 5 weaknesses. Today, I just happened to kill a super boss. My mood is not bad, so I will point out one mistake among them. In recent years, it's rare to meet juniors daring to compete with me like you, truly reckless. You should feel lucky that I have rested for the past 15 days. The killing intent has gradually faded. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't see the sun tomorrow anymore, hehe. This martial art is really trash. Don't misunderstand, kid. I don't mean to target you. I say now on the market there are 17 sects of social strikes, all trash. I have been fighting in thick fog, continuously accumulating and improving to create a set of 3 literary strikes. Need 1 step to test recruitment. Final check super lazy, jumped straight into bed feeling refreshed, silently thinking next all are very troublesome. Can push onto the old fire transmission person's body hiding the head and tail of the furnace. The more he thinks, the more excited he becomes, smiling weirdly because he has already planned and about the insults online, pretending to be dumb, then running away. Really stimulating, then lying there dazed, thinking about the future, always letting the numbers keep rising non-stop, super strong, and boldly guessing that tonight. Probably will increase to 3000 already. No more worrying about that, just sleep. Everything went on like that until the next morning at a certain headquarters. Yan Finu was still confused inside, asking Ba Ma if this Ba Wen strike is really powerful or not. He was just cultivating, still drenched in sweat, calmly putting on his robe and firmly affirming, of course it is powerful, otherwise how could it fool the Ba Wen princess? Hearing that, she suddenly panicked and hurriedly asked again if it was a trick, unless this martial art set is fake. Seeing Finu so alarmed, he gently reassured her that it is not fake either. But it is extreme and very crazy, and the reason he judged so is because there is a saying, leading time by half a step is a genius, leading the era by 1 step is a madman. But this Ba Wen strike set at least must lead the era by 3 steps like going crazy. Finu looked at Ba with full curiosity and asked but these 3 martial arts sets. Yet he didn't even need her to finish speaking to understand her meaning at that time, spending 20% oxygen to consume and exchange, and she still had many concerns. Worried about many things, so he gently advised her to use her clever little brain to think. Mr. Yan affectionately tapped her head lightly and explained. Consuming 20% oxygen means what it's not just a few simple breaths, however, with his sharp eyes, he could easily recognize the cultivation resources. Even the cultivation system is about to undergo a big change, which makes a person who has cultivated for so long also have to laugh angrily. Currently, a basic power approach method suddenly changed into an extremely difficult and rare ultimate skill, truly absurd. Finu only doubted and thought silently. The ultimate skill can't be that bad, right? He began to cultivate a bit, looking at the surrounding aura, and marveled the more one cultivates this Ba Wen strike set, the more terrifying the feeling. The person who created this martial arts set is not a genius, but a madman, more likely a demon in his eyes. Mr. Yan truly felt this martial arts set was like a design of the era. Cruel 100 times over, providing fighters 10 times stronger than us to deal with monsters 10 times more ferocious, the basic dragon art has no effect at all. And with the current chaotic situation, he must be highly vigilant and remind that such martial arts from the Yan clan, if spread outside, will seriously affect the trust from the military and the education department towards the Yan clan, allowing other families or lines to take advantage of the Ba Wen strike. Hearing this, Finu's heart became even more uneasy. Panic and fear responded, but the news had already spread throughout the chat groups on the online forum. What to do now facing this complexity? He calmly instructed her to immediately post a clarification with a serious attitude, cutting off all relations with Ba Wen's madness. This and Yan Clan Ba on this side will send people to handle it tonight, taking advantage before tomorrow when online traffic increases again to resolve everything. In the end, she still couldn't hold back the anxiety in her heart, and asked if father needed to rely on the old man, but Mr. Yen gently declined. Forget it, the old master was still in seclusion before announcing the final 2-point test. These past few days, the entire research team had been working around the clock. Once these small matters are handled, we will report back to the old master. Finu's expression suddenly darkened. Just by looking, one could tell she was extremely angry. Faced with a pile of troubles that Monsieur brought down from the sky to the Yen family, she silently vowed to herself, "Fire-transmitting old man, don't let me investigate who you really are." Then she clenched her fist tightly. Early the next morning, it was only 6 o'clock, but the alarm bell rang loudly, so loud that it forced Monsieur, who was still drowsy and sleepy, to wake up. Groggy and tired, he lifted his eye mask and quickly turned it off. While brushing his teeth, he took the opportunity to check the scores on the system, but the results compared to his initial calculations surprised him a bit. After one evening, only 443 points, something was off. After getting ready, Monsieur immediately went downstairs to eat breakfast, but was only focused on his phone, so Jia Tao hurriedly took the chance to tell their mother, "Mom, look at Big Brother," eating breakfast while still looking at his phone. Hearing that Mom gently reminded him, Asiu focus on eating breakfast. Just like that. The two of them looked at each other with hatred burning like fire, grumbling coldly, and it didn't stop there. Jia Tao continuously stuck out her tongue and rolled her eyes to provoke him, making him so angry he almost went crazy before leaving. Mansu said goodbye and didn't forget to give a jab to his little sister. Mom and I are leaving now. Remember to supervise Tu Tao's practice on the gong technique. That's the fundamental cultivation method. Jia Tao couldn't help but scold. Stinky brother, bad brother. Their mother just agreed, replying, "All right, be safe on the road." Taking advantage of the bus ride to school, Monsieur pulled out his phone to check the latest news online, but it kept making him ponder deeply during this live broadcast. Phi Nu stood in front of the camera and bluntly declared that recently in Long Tan, an extremely radical and even crazy type of Bavan power technique had become popular. After cultivation, it was unpredictable. Hearing that, Monsieur suddenly became confused, thinking, radical and crazy, isn't that referring to Bavan Kin in the future? Not stopping there, she fiercely declared that the demonic Bavan Kin group was also using the name of Bavan Yen's family to impersonate and deceive. She hoped researchers would know when to stop. If they arrange things properly themselves, Yen's family will resort to the law against these fierce and resolute declarations. Monsieur couldn't help but laugh secretly, thinking, Bavan Kin in the future is due to Yen Phi Nu's adjustment and upgrade. Is she sick? Going crazy, he slapped his own face repeatedly. Then he didn't forget to encourage himself. I have Longsha Kin and Mang Ngu Kin. I'm not afraid of having no place to contribute. Yen Phi Nu, just wait. Today I have shown kindness to the old man, treating him like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Tomorrow I will go and beg, hoping the old man will embrace me. Just thinking about this. His mind was already filled with the vision of Phi Nu kneeling down tomorrow, delicately begging for all kinds of forgiveness. Tu Siu, please forgive me. Such a beautiful dream. Monsieur stood there, dazed, smiling foolishly, telling himself that she must be sincerely repentant. Then I will reluctantly forgive her once. Dreaming like this is enough. He then returned to his original serious demeanor, calculating carefully. Today was the day of the document trading event. I have to improve the proficiency of the primary harvesting technique a bit, try to awaken more memories, and find a cure for Elder Nin. But only a moment later, Monsieur, who was initially full of enthusiasm, now felt depressed in the restroom, blaming himself for a busy day that finally raised his contribution value to 758 points, hoping to recover more of Elder Nin's memories. Just as he closed his eyes, the system directly notified that the primary harvesting technique proficiency increased by 436. After careful searching, Monsieur suddenly woke up and opened his eyes wide. Secretly rejoicing inside, found it. What made him search so hard was the root of the 100-year-old Thuktam herb and the bloodwing of the queen bee. With these two important items, he was reminded that Elder Nin could definitely be found. Just like that, in a flash, the contribution value reached 1,200, which coincidentally matched Monsieur's wish because with 1,200 points, he could unlock the primary healing technique. Then the system announced the consumption of 150 contribution points to exchange for one primary healing technique with a healing progress of 71%. But he only felt so happy he wanted to shout. Rising in consciousness is exactly this feeling of joy after confirming the next target. Monsieur no longer hesitates and quickly moves to that location. Through the glass door, he felt a bit doubtful, wondering if the Cao Oc Dong Van material trading hall that Elder Nin mentioned was indeed here. After a while of moving, he was brought to the place, but suddenly gasped in amazement as he saw a shadow flying past. Seeing a group of people dressed in luxurious social attire entering, he suddenly froze in confusion, and the noisy, uncontrollable atmosphere outside made Monsieur even more suspicious. Thinking silently, why does it not feel like the material trading hall as I thought? But all his worries now were just accidental because he knew very well that. Anyway, now it's too late to go back and change clothes. Therefore, Monsieur in student attire with a backpack directly stepped in amid the astonishment of the guests and with a heavy heart full of regrets. He apologized to Elder Nin. Just as he opened the door, preparing to boldly enter, two tall, dark, smelly bodyguards holding firearms were already waiting there. Standing ready there! Just waiting for him to step in to execute. Their eyes flashed with a sharp warning as if to sternly caution. Sorry, classmate, this is the material trading hall. Without an invitation letter, you cannot enter. Finally, Monsieur had no choice but to point to himself with grievance and ask them back, Elder Nin invited me here. Hearing Elder Nin's name, they still showed no sign of concession and coldly replied, I don't know who Elder Nin is. Without an invitation letter, you cannot enter. Then Monsieur hurriedly stepped aside, holding his phone, while the two bodyguards sneered, With such little skill, you want to sneak in. Who do you really think you are? Monsieur pressed the phone to his ear with an annoyed expression, furrowing his brows, and said, Elder Nin, could you come out to receive me for a moment? I don't have an invitation letter. The security at the door won't let me in. Elder Nin answered on the other end, I still have 10 minutes before I arrive. Monsieur Hu, give the phone to the security guard so I can talk. Monsieur immediately put the phone near the security guard and said, Hey, listen to the phone. He leaned over to listen, thinking, Still listening to the phone, you think you're part of the event organizers. Suddenly, Elder Nin's voice came from the phone. I am Elder Nin Sa, the invitation code is... Before he finished speaking, the security guard was already sweating profusely. He glanced at the phone and awkwardly said, Yes, sorry, I will definitely comply, yes, yes. The security guard bowed humbly, raised both hands to invite Monsieur inside, but Elder Nin still hadn't hung up, saying, I'm not blind, please come in and hold the phone. Knowing the result beforehand, why act so high and mighty? Elder Nin on the other end sighed, Sorry, Monsieur Hu, for making you feel wronged, and Monsieur smiled brightly, happily, replying, It's okay, I just came early. Elder Nin said, Take your time, I will wait here for you. As he carried his backpack and stepped inside, the atmosphere immediately changed 360 degrees. Around was noisy and lively. Mr. Truong, I heard you have a rare beast class worth about 300,000,000. If you still haven't sold it to the right person, why not sell it to me? He glanced casually and saw two people holding glasses of wine chatting. Brother Lai, isn't this waiting for you to speak? Such a large batch. Others can't even consume it all. Oh my, just over 300,000,000 is a small matter. Hearing that was enough to turn pale, plus the angry laughter made Monsieur stiffen like glue. Rolling his eyes for 3 seconds because the atmosphere did not belong to him, the guy raised his hand to reveal a mark on it, his eyes blazing. He boasted, I am the captain of the Sonmue squad. The most trusted harvester is me. I'm not bragging. Without me, he wouldn't even be able to enter the fog area. The two girls were surprised, mouths agape. Monsieur gritted his teeth slightly, eyes glancing downward, deep in thought. In the apocalypse in this luxurious 5-star hotel, it turned into a crumbling wall. He scratched his head, revealing slightly furrowed eyebrows, eyes determined, but his mind was filled with images of bloody, gruesome skulls. Even beautiful women dressed gorgeously all turned into skulls. Today, Cao Cao is the supreme, peerless, powerful warrior marking the land. Tomorrow they will be ants struggling in death, no matter the upper-class society. Wealth, power, divine authority, and prestige all vanish into smoke and meaningless nothingness. Monsieur slightly smiled, smirking and closing his eyes tightly. Longcheng is like that, what else could it be? It's a place I can't enter anymore. Who else is the person that makes me have to look up? You continue to think indeed only food can transform strength. Fighting against the beast seriously, then wiping his hands, grabbing the chicken leg and biting fiercely, spinning like a top until his eyes rolled back, chewing sharply with a mouthful, then glanced over. Hearing someone sigh, Did you see a high school student? Just like a starving guy from Thai. A few people standing next to the vase were laughing and talking to each other. What's there to talk about him? I heard from the Dimensional Research Center that otherworldly creatures are not just simple beasts like... There are many things with very strange shapes. Even low-level humanoid creatures. Are humanoid creatures powerful or not? Monsieur still raised his eyes and turned his hand behind, listening to their discussion. Powerful what power? They were scared by monsters. All those terrified call the people who transmigrated to our place. Masun. From what I see, beasts are the peak combat force of other worlds. People from Earth like us who transmigrated here have only been here for over 10 years, yet have already hung beasts up and beaten them to pieces like that. Wait until the fog clears, won't those otherworldly people be hung up and beaten by us? After hearing this, Monsieur rolled his eyes, smirked mockingly, showing disdain for the four people. Hearing the laughter, he turned sideways and back, getting angry. Who is the one what's so funny? Monsieur raised the chicken leg as if nothing happened, waving his hand and shouting, Old Nin, I'm here.